aside from the two hearings that we conducted, we also conducted one consultation and one pre-TWG meeting. But on top of that, we also went to Singapore to look at the WTE facility there. And before Singapore, I went to Bucheon City in Korea, yung sister city namin yan ni Crispian Valenzuela and Bucheon City are sister cities. I went to see their waste to energy plant there, and me and Tim went to Berlin to see their WTE plant. So this is probably one of the most well discussed bill that I have endeavored. And today we will be going into the technical working group. And the objective of the technical working group is to go line by line to get comments from the body, because sabi nga nila, the devil is in the details, and solicit suggestions and improvements on the bill. We want everyone to participate. This is a bill that is a product of many discussions from the stakeholders. But today we will narrow it down to provision by provision, and feel free to raise your hands. Medyo, to be honest about it, this is the first virtual technical working group that we will be doing. Alam niyo, sa technical working group, dyan talaga ang, sabi ko nga, yan ang bakbakan eh. But during the physical technical working group is easy because I see everyone. But now it's going to be a big adjustment because I cannot see everyone. And we will, please be patient. We will try to be as organized as possible so that everyone can participate. But for an orderly discussion, the usual, please raise your hands if you have any comments on the bill. We have distributed two documents. One is a draft bill updated as of June 8, 10:30 p.m. Ito po yung pinaka-latest. Make sure that you have the 10:30 p.m. And then we have a matrix in which it discussed, in which it laid out the provisions of the two bills, one authored by yours truly and one authored by Senator Tolentino. And then on the third column is the draft bill. We merged the two bills and we took into account all the comments in the position paper as much as possible. Kaya meron tayong working draft bill. But today, it's easier to follow this 10:30 p.m. version because it will basically lay out all the comments, all the suggestions, and we footnoted all the different comments and suggestions from from the different position paper. So ito yung susundan ho natin para mabilis. And Jen will flash on the screen this version. And we will add, subtract, correct if necessary, if you have any comments. So with that, we will now proceed. Tim will be chairing this technical working group. Para lang ho masundan nyo, please have this version with you. Tim?
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. We would like to thank everyone for giving their position papers. I think this is the bill that we've received the most position papers, sir. We've received 20 position papers from various stakeholders. Tapos yung iba, more than one position paper pa yung sinend. Attorney Grace, our committee secretary, sent the bill last night and then the matrix as well. There were some comments that arrived later in the day, actually past 5 o'clock last night. So yung mga comments na yun na wala sa version nyo, we've highlighted them para you will be able to see it. Jen will share our working bill on the screen right now. So please feel free to interject na lang po if you want to say something. And then please just introduce yourself kasi hindi namin makita dito whoever is raising their hand. But our secretariat will be helping us as well. Okay? So we'll start first with the short title. This act shall be referred to as the Waste to Energy Act. We'll go to the long title later. Do you have other comments on the short title? Just to set the, okay, before we start, just to set the pace for the technical working group, definitely we still recognize the importance. This bill is not meant to change the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, but it's really meant to supplement it. So we're not saying that we will do away with the 5 hours, but what we're saying is at the end, this will be at the tail end after all the 5 hours have been done. So, and also we know that we receive a number of position papers against incineration, but we can go to the discussion on that later. But what we really want to make sure in this bill is there will be sufficient protection for the health of the public and for the environment as well. So we would appreciate if the discussion will center on that. What are the safeguards that we can put in the bill to ensure that people will be protected and the environment will be protected? Okay, so let's now move on. Any comments on section 1? Okay, no comments on section 1. Let's now move on to section 2, declaration of policy. It is hereby declared the policy of the state to letter A, ensure protection of the public's health and the environment through a systematic and comprehensive ecological solid waste management program. So this section 2 letter A actually integrates already some parts of section 2 of Senate Bill 401 or Senator Tolentino's bill. Do we have any questions and comments on section 2 letter A? Okay, now let's move on to section 2 letter B. So this one also integrates the declaration of policy of SBN 401, and it reads, encourage the development and utilization of environmentally sustainable new and alternative technologies in resource recovery, resource conservation, processing, treatment, and disposal of waste, such as waste to energy facilities. Do you have any comments on this? Okay, now let's move on to letter C. Support the expansion of bioenergy technologies such as waste to energy in order to attain sustainable energy. So the footnotes in the declaration of policy is really just in support of the declarations made here.
Alternative.
Yes,
Alternative.
yes, yes, Director
This is
Mike.
Mylene. On policy, may I suggest we include the term security because other than having sustainable energy, the waste to energy will provide support to the energy security. So, yung term na security, pwede natin idagdag.
Okay, so we can add sa letter C, support the expansion of bioenergy technologies such as waste to energy in order to attain sustainable energy and energy security.
Yes po.
Okay, sige.
Thank you.
Dr. Mylene, that is also my personal comment. Nung binabasa ko yung revised version yesterday, I made exactly the same comment and to mention energy security. Oh.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, hello. This is Yusek Bekson. Can I raise just something?
Yes po, you said. Son. Yes.
Can we include a definition of bioenergy in our definition of terms? Hinanap ko kasi walang definition.
Yes. Yes, you said. We'll park that. We'll finish first the declaration of policy, and then we can just include that later when we go to the definition of terms po.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for letter C, it now reads, support the expansion of bioenergy technologies such as waste to energy in order to sustain sustainable energy and energy security. Any other comments on letter C? Okay, now let's move on to letter D. Letter D reads, strengthen the integration of solid waste management, bioenergy promotion, and environmental protection towards healthful cities amidst economic growth and development. Do we have other comments? Okay, no comments. And lastly, letter E, promote collaboration and cooperation among local government units through coordinated approaches to solid waste management. Do we have comments? no comments. Okay, and I'll just like to note something. So for footnote 5, we see here that it refers to to the objectives of Senate Bill 401. This since we're using Senate Bill 363 as our base bill, there's no section on objectives, and we've noticed that actually the objectives in Senate Bill 401 are already integrated in this in various sections of the Senate bill. So you will see later sa footnotes na yung objectives ng SBN 401 na integrate na sa iba nating section. Ayun, yung natitira lang ay itong to strengthen the integration of solid waste management into the academic curricula. But since we never mentioned naman its inclusion in the bill, we're not going to include it. And then yung encourage and development and use of local technology, integrated naman siya since we're not making a distinction between we're not making a distinction among different kinds of WTE technologies. Okay, so section 3, scope and application. This action apply to all local government units and waste to energy facilities. Do we have other comments?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Chris.
before we go to section 3, may I propose to add another item in section 2? Encourage and promote private sector investments in the development of waste treatment technologies.
Yeah, Sir Chris, can you please kindly repeat what you said po?
Yeah, you got it. Private sector investments in the development of waste treatment technologies.
Okay, so we will be adding another subsection in our declaration of policy. Encourage and promote private sector participation in the development of waste treatment technology. Do you have comments on this suggestion from Mr. Lau of NSWMC?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair,
Eileen, yes po.
maybe in the same paragraph, we add something like rural development as it also generate job for the people. So we include towards achieving rural development and jobs creation.
Subject to style, will improve on it. So our new subsection will read, encourage and promote private sector participation in the development of waste treatment technology towards achieving rural development and jobs creation.
Madam,
Does that capture what you want, Director Mylene? Director Mylene?
Sorry. Actually, the proposal is okay, except that siguro may subject to styling na lang siguro, sir. Ay, ma'am.
Apo.
The Director Mylene, ang subject to style, no, and further
Opo.
discussion. But my reaction to this, my initial reaction is most of the WTE plant for practicality purposes will be located in urban areas. So this might be construed as giving priority to rural development, where in fact the urban areas will be the generator of the waste. So, but I get your point in terms of giving some prioritization to rural development. Is that what you are trying to say, Director Mylene?
Yes, sir. Actually, we can add, if I may, we can add yung urban kasi there are possible because of the clustering that there will be jobs or benefits that the sources of waste will be benefiting from the project. So parang encompassing na po lahat, rural and urban areas.
Attorney, may I say something? Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. May we know
Yeah,
who's speaking, please?
I'm sorry. I'm Dr. Molina from the College of Public Health, UP Manila.
Doc. Yes po.
Yeah. I'm sorry I came a little bit late, no, and due to some connection problem, I cannot open my video. So anyway, may I share my comment on letter F? Uh, I think the line of thought, no, the line of thought of letter F is is aligned with promotion and collaboration as well as cooperation. So my suggestion is to incorporate it to letter E. This is the paragraph, it, uh, new paragraph letter F. So
Okay.
perhaps we can integrate it to include the participation of the private sector in line with the development of solid waste management approach.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Molina. Okay, we subject to style, we can integrate letter E and F. So we'll just note it. Once we've cleaned the entire bill, we'll be sharing it with everyone here. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page, when we integrate letter E and F, the goal is to promote the collaboration, cooperation, and participation both of local government units and the private sector. And then we want to emphasize also the contribution of waste treatment technology in development and jobs creation as a whole. Okay po.
Thank you so much. In fact, solid waste management is actually involves a lot of sectors, no? So perhaps I'm thinking right now. I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong, no? But if we put some sectors there outright, it might be limiting, no, for other sectors to participate. So perhaps again subject to style, but my idea here is perhaps on the line of words here is promotion, collaboration, and cooperation among various sectors, no, to include the big sectors that we mentioned.
Thank you, Doc. Director Mylene, ang suggestion ko towards achieving national development and jobs creation, is that acceptable?
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair, that's okay po. Thank you.
Thank you. So, just to backtrack, we will be merging letter E and letter F. The goal, and it will reflect two things. First is the collaboration, cooperation, and participation of various sectors to include LGUs and the private sector. And then second is to emphasize the contribution of waste to energy facilities towards achieving national development and jobs creation. So we'll be fixing that. Okay. Any other comments on declaration of policy? Now let's move on to section 3, the scope and application. This shall apply to all local government units and waste to energy facilities. Do we have comments on section 3? Okay, no comments. Now let's move on to section 4, definition of terms. So I hope that you will be patient with us since there are a lot of terms here, and there are terms here that we actually just lifted from RA 9003 and various laws and issuances. So for letter A, agricultural waste refers to waste generated from planting or harvesting of crops, trimming or pruning of plants, and waste or runoff materials from farms or fields. Yes po.
May be recognized.
Yes, may I know who's speaking, please?
Yusek Echeverri. Yeah.
Yes, Yusek. Yes, Yusek.
I'm sorry, before we go to section 4, I would want to be clarified on section 3. Are you referring to this act shall apply to all local government units and waste to energy facility? Is this a separate concept? Meaning, is this applicable to all local government units with waste to energy facility, or all local government units only and waste to energy facility?
Yusek, it refers to all local government units and waste to energy facilities. So,
Yeah, even if the local government still has no waste to energy, it involves them still.
Yes, Yusek. The way it's structured is we actually encourage local government units. Actually, we require local government units to include waste to energy facilities in their local solid waste management plans if these facilities are feasible. Because it may be that the local government unit has plans of engaging a waste to energy facility, but currently it still does not have one. So that's why it applies to all local government units and waste to energy facilities. So it's not necessary that the LGU has to have a waste to energy facility already.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Yusek. Okay, so for section 4, letter A, do we have comments on the definition of agricultural waste? Okay, no comments. Letter B, let's go to the definition of biomedical waste. It refers to pathological waste, pharmaceutical waste, chemical waste, and sharps as defined in this act. So DOST has a comment that not all chemical wastes are biomedical waste. So perhaps if we can hear from the DOST representative as to how to qualify the inclusion of chemical waste in this definition. Okay, since we don't have DOST here right now, we'll park that comment, but do we have comments from the body?
Attorney, may I say something?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
this is Dr. Molina.
Yes, Dr. Molina.
So that definition might be limiting, no, because other waste, other biomedical waste from the hospital would also include infectious waste, um, of, general waste. So there is a definition of this term from the Department of Health. So I get the exact definition of the biomedical waste from as defined by the Department of Health in order to to include all that refers to biomedical waste. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Molina. Do we have a representative from DOH?
Good morning. This is Engineer Sonabel.
Yes, good morning, ma'am. Yes po. May we hear from
Okay.
DOH?
Okay. We will. I'll just park this definition because I have to refer this to the newly published Healthcare Waste Management Manual, 4th edition, 2020. We just published this April 2020.
Yes, okay. Thank you, ma'am. So we'll wait for suggested definition for biomedical waste from the DOH po.
From the Healthcare Waste Management Manual, 4th edition of 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Healthcare waste. Okay, now let's move on. So, before biomedical waste, we will be inserting a definition for bioenergy as earlier mentioned po by USEC from PPP Center.
Yes, can I also, sorry, this is Yusek Petron again. Can I add something to that waste? Hello.
Yes, USEC, go ahead po, please.
Yeah. So actually, my question pertains to both the item C in section 2, which we have already from which we have already moved on, and the absence of a definition in section 4. Now, if I read section C again of section 2, and pardon me if I'm bringing us back to what we had said we just completed. The question is, if we take out item C entirely, because we don't have any definition anyway, will it change the declaration of policy? Meaning, it seems that item B already talks about sustainability. It talks about waste to energy in item B of said section for declaration of policy. It seems to me that C is a duplication unless this bioenergy, which is really very important that we need to mention it. But but then again, there is no definition. So are we going to also create guidelines for other types of bioenergy technologies, or are we just focused on waste to energy?
Yes.
Because if that is the case, then my suggestion actually is not to have any definition at all, but just to take out item C of the declaration of policy, if it will not change the intent of that policy.
Sir, well, if you yung bioenergy technologies, actually madami. Of course, yung biofuels kasama dito, waste to energy facilities kasama dito. It's pati yung green, I mean, it's a whole gamut of green technologies. Uh, we
But
can,
the focus,
if you're we can, what we can do, sir, siguro is, sorry po, we can have include it in the definition, but we can also actually just do away with the use of the term bioenergy technologies po.
that is what I'm suggesting, because if our focus is waste to energy, then the whole thing really is about waste to energy rather than talking of so many other things, which might just complicate what we're doing. Ilan po?
Okay, thank you, Yusek Pexon. What we can do to address your concern is just delete, we can go back to letter C. We can delete of bioenergy technology such as, so it's going to read as support the expansion of waste to energy in order to attain sustainable energy and energy security.
But then again, that is also captured in spirit by letter D of the, when we say encourage the development, that is also the expansion that we're talking about.
Yes, subject to, thank you, Yusek. Subject to style, what we can do is we'll just be merging. Yeah, we can actually delete letter C. Um, we can, yeah, we can delete letter C if that's okay with the body.
And do away with having a definition, separate definition of bioenergy.
What we can do is we can delete letter C and then transfer the goals of attaining sustainable energy and energy security to letter B. Yes, Attorney Paul.
Madam Chair, but if bioenergy is the term that is in letter D also contains, I am actually worried as if there are says in the bill bioenergy. Uh, so with respect to the removal of, because in sustainable energy is one of the purposes for this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. What we will be doing is that actually the mention of bioenergy is just in section 2. It's not mentioned in the entire bill. If you're going to delete bioenergy promotion, we're going to delete bioenergy in subsection D, and we're going to replace it with waste to energy, and then we can go up to section B. Please be just to reflect all the comments. Can we go up to section B? And then what we can do is put a comma after facilities in order to attain sustainable energy and energy security. Okay. Okay, so I'll just read just to take into account what Yusek Pexon said, Attorney Paul said, and the earlier comments of Director Mylene. So the new proposal, section 2, subletter B, encourage the development and utilization of environmentally sustainable new and alternative technologies in resource recovery, processing, treatment, and disposal of solid waste, such as waste to energy, facilities, in energy and energy security. Although I'm just going to put this out there. It's going to be difficult if we're going to include sustainability security in letter B, because letter B really talks about waste management. It doesn't talk about energy. So the under section 2B is about waste management. For letter D, if the concern is about bioenergy, we can just replace it with waste to energy promotion. Siguro what we can do na lang, sir, kasi weird yung in order to attain sustainable energy and energy security sa B, kasi yung B is about waste management. We will retain letter C pero support the expansion of waste to energy in order to attain energy security. Kasi yung purpose naman po ng B, it talks about waste management eh. So parang we're sinusupport yung development of WTE as a waste management tool. But yung letter C, it talks about the support for waste to energy as a sustainable energy and energy security tool. Yusek Pekson, Yusek Pekson, is that okay po? Is that amenable to you?
Yes, that's okay with me. Thank you.
Sige. So for letter C, we'll add na rin, support the expansion and utilization. So what we're saying is sa B, we want to support the development and utilization of WTE as part of waste management. Sa C, we want to support the expansion and utilization of WTE towards sustainable energy and energy security. Okay? Thank you.
Siguro, ang caveat lang, sorry, it's me again, Yusek Pekson. Kasi yung some people might interpret this as we're promoting waste generation in order to achieve a sustainable source of energy, when in fact, waste to energy should be at the end of this hierarchy of waste management solutions. So when we say expansion of waste to energy, it could be construed as let's generate more waste so that we will have more sources of renewable energy. So we just don't want that to be an interpretation of this one.
Thank you for bringing that up, Yusek. Although yung sinabi ni Senator is yung expansion is really the use of other technologies ng WTE. Kasi 'di ba madami siya. But we do recognize that as a valid concern. We can delete po expansion just to make sure that it's clear na we're not encouraging waste generation. Opo. So we'll just make it support the utilization of waste to energy in order to attain sustainable energy and energy security. Okay, do you have other comments on the declaration of policy po?
Attorney,
Yes po, yes.
may I
Yes.
say something?
Molina,
I,
opo.
I agree with the suggestion to remove bioenergy because actually the feedstock ito yung pumapasok sa waste to energy technology. And for letter C, may I suggest to put the word technologies after waste to energy.
Okay. I'll just make a qualification po. The proposal is to put the word technologies. Sir, we will not be defining waste to energy technologies because per the we had a small group meeting po kasi to discuss the very contentious issue together with the key government agencies who will be implementing the bill. It was decided that we will not be defining waste to energy technologies in the bill since technology is evolving and we don't want to limit it. So, wala naman pong problema if we're going to add the word technologies, but I just want to everyone that we will not be defining it in the bill.
Noted po. Because I thought of that because we put the word utilization.
Apa. Okay. Okay, do you have other comments? Declaration of policy. Okay, now let's move on to section 4. Anyway, lilinisin po namin to and then we'll share the copy to everyone and then everyone can still give their comments as well before we file the committee report. Okay, let's move on to, so no need to define bioenergy anymore. Now let's move on to letter C, the definition of city or municipal solid waste management board. So this from, well, we're just referring to the ecological solid waste. City or municipal solid waste management board refers to the entity established by each city or municipality pursuant to Section 12 of Republic Act number 9003, otherwise known as the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. Do we have comment? Okay, now let's move on to letter D. Letter D, chemical waste, but there's a proposal from Commissioner Lau from NSWMC that we will we will include in the definition chemical and industrial waste. So, and there's also, and just for consistency, we included industrial establishments. So chemical and industrial waste refers to discarded solid, liquid, or gaseous chemicals from laboratories, industrial establishments, or other sources such as diagnostic work, environmental work, cleaning, housekeeping, and disinfecting procedures. Do you have comments on this? Okay, no comments. Let's now
Really?
move. Yes po.
Uh, there might be some confusion when we include the word industrial because in the latter part of the definition, you include this housekeeping and disinfecting procedures. So um, uh, it might be construed that these are still part of industry. So perhaps it's a matter of restating letter D because not all industrial waste are and not all chemical waste are industrial waste.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Perhaps we can hear from Sir Chris.
Yep. When I made the comment, actually what I did was not to add, okay, chemical waste is standalone. I did not recommend to put chemical and industrial waste. What I said was chemical waste, the source of chemical waste can be from industrial establishments. That's what I meant when I made that comment before. So basically, the definition should be chemical waste. Then it refers to discarded solid, liquid, or gaseous chemicals from laboratories, industrial establishments, or other sources, because chemical waste can come from industrial establishments on that context.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Chris. Thank you for that clarification. So uh, so what we're going to do is just to reflect what was meant by Sir Chris, which is chemical waste refers to discarded solid, liquid, or gaseous chemicals from laboratories, industrial establishments, or other sources such as diagnostic work, envi work, cleaning, housekeeping, and disinfecting procedures. Okay, will that be okay, Dr. Molina?
Okay, it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank you. And next, let's move on to the meaning of clustering. So the meaning of clustering is lifted from Senate Bill 401 of Senator Tolentino, which reads as, clustering is a strategy of pooling available resources of neighborhood cities, municipalities, or barangays for the establishment of a common solid waste management facility or service. Yeah. Um, just a clarification, do we have the representative from Senator Tolentino's office? Maybe we can just a clarification from the office of Senator Tolentino. When we talk about neighborhood cities, municipalities, or barangays, are we talking about cities, municipalities, and barangays that are beside each other, or do they have to be contiguous, or are we just referring to cities, municipalities, or barangays in the same province? Attorney Attorney Mark? Yeah. Maybe we can Attorney Mark, but maybe we can change it to neighboring instead. Or is it possible to do away completely with the term neighborhood or neighboring, just to make sure that we're not limited to contiguous LGUs? Or perhaps we can hear from the body. What do you think? Will it maybe we can delete it instead, just to make sure that we're not it won't be interpreted as referring to contiguous LGUs. Wait,
Attorney.
yes po. Yes, Attorney Dr. Molina, yes po.
I agree to remove the word neighborhood because from the clustering term itself, it is already implied. Because we are defining the term clustering, no? So, uh, uh, the I agree, if may, no, to just remove the word or neighboring and proceed to the next word because it's already implied in the first term clustering.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. So we'll be deleting the word neighborhood. So clustering is a strategy of pooling available resources of cities, municipalities, or barangays for the establishment of a common solid waste management facility or service. Um, just a clarification. Is it possible if we add provinces as well? Because I think in the bill we actually provided a mechanism for provinces to cluster if they want to.
Nice. May be recognized.
Yes, yes, Yusek Echeverry.
I agree because if we are to refer to local government units, it would always involve provinces, HUCs, ICCs, municipalities, and barangays. Um, I agree with you that both provinces, two or three provinces in a region, can do clustering for purposes of waste management facility. The inclusion of provinces is a need. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Yusek Echeverry. Okay, so we'll be adding the word provinces before cities. So clustering is a strategy of pooling available resources of provinces, comma, cities, municipalities, or barangays for the establishment of a common solid waste management facility or service. Okay?
Yeah,
Any more
this is,
comments?
yeah, hello.
Yes
Hi.
po. Yes, Yusek Pekson. Apo.
Yes, thank you. In the end, when you have a group of, say, LGUs sharing a facility, it will be a facility located in one of those LGUs. It's not going to straddle perhaps several LGUs, but a facility in one LGU being shared with other LGUs. That is the intent, right? I just want to be clarified first on what we meant by clustering. So because we're saying here pooling of available resources. In our earlier sessions on this subject, we were actually talking about pooling available sources of wastes, and then having the waste management facility or the waste to energy facility in one LGU only because this is a very expensive facility to build. And also because of that, we are dependent, or this technology is dependent on scope, mean or scale rather, economies of scale. So you have as much waste to be utilized as possible, and you can only do that if you have a cluster of LGUs.
Yes, Attorney Paul.
Madam Chair, to provide context, we should read clustering in the context of Section 10, which we will discuss later on subparagraph E, Roman numeral I, and Roman numeral uh, triple I. Um, in that the local government units are authorized to enter into clustering arrangements, and the following arrangements are also included: joint ventures, public partnerships, and cooperative undertakings under the local government code. Thank you.
May I be recognized?
Yes, I think we already have Attorney Mark from OS
Ah,
Filipino online. Yes, Attorney Mark.
Tim, yes. Ah, yes, Attorney Tim, the goal of our bill was, we didn't want to limit it to LGUs that are part of the same province or city. So our main intention was really to include a broader range of LGUs. So we include everything, and we also agree with the inclusion of provinces.
Thank you, Attorney Mark. Okay, so the clustering actually, if you uh read 363, we've mentioned clustering several times, as earlier said by Attorney Paul as well. But we weren't able to provide a definition. But SBN 401 actually provided a definition, which is good. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page and it's clear to the LGs who will be implementing the bill, I think it's important that we include the definition of clustering, which Senate Bill 401 kindly provided. So yun po. We don't want to put na yung strategy of pulling available waste lang po. Kasi it can be that the LGUs can cluster not just for waste, but also for other things po if they want to enter into a PPP together, yung mga ganoon po, or any other contractual arrangements as earlier mentioned nga by Attorney Paul. Do we have other comments po on clustering?
Just to add, Attorney Tim, hi, this is Attorney Mona from NWeb.
Hi, Attorney Wala. Yes po.
Hi, good morning. Just to add 2 points here, just on the draft, maybe we can just use the language instead of enumerating the LGUs, just use available resources of the local government units for the establishment of a common waste management facility. So that's on the drafting. The second point is I agree with what you had just stated earlier on not limiting the resources to waste because it's actually possible and supports the promotion of this technology. If, for example, water would come from a neighboring LGU, but the waste resources are from the common areas and all that. So make it as broad as possible so that it allows for more flexibility for different structures for the project.
Yeah, thank you, Attorney Mona. Okay, just to based on Attorney Mona's suggestion, just to make sure that it's broad enough, so clustering is a strategy of pooling available resources of local government units for the establishment of a common solid waste management facility or service. Do you have other comments on this proposed
Yes,
definition?
yes, Miss. Be recognized.
Yes, Yusek Echeverry.
Yes, I agree with Attorney Mon because if we are to specify provinces, cities, we will need to include the identification whether it is an HUC, an ICC, and whether the municipality is still an ICC. So for us to veer away to that, we might as well use the term local government units as a whole.
Yes, thank you, Yusek. Okay, so we'll be using the term local government unit. So clustering is a strategy of pooling available resources of local government units for the establishment of a common solid waste management facility or service. Okay, now let's move on to letter F. So we actually just lifted this, if I remember correctly, from 9003. Collection refers to the act of removing solid waste from the source or from a communal storage point. Do we have comments on this? Okay, no comments. Let's now move on to letter G. Disposal refers to the discharge, deposit, dumping, spilling, leaking, or placing of any solid waste into or in a land. I think we Okay, no comments on this. Now let's move on to letter H, disposal site. Disposal site refers to a site where solid waste is finally discharged and deposited.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes. Yes,
Co-chair here.
Sir Chris.
Yeah, okay. I had comments on disposal, no? You included dumping, spilling, leaking, no? As part of disposal. So I have concerns on this. What type of disposal are we looking at? So the use of spilling and leaking tends to refer to this as open dumps. Well, disposal facilities can be a sanitary landfill. So this needs to be clarified also. And as far as to the disposal site, uh, okay, it's on the actually I can't see the comment right now, but yeah, I think I had some comments prepared. Let me see. On the disposal site, the comment would be suggest to add and waste that are used as feedstock for waste to energy in waste to energy facilities. So I have two comments on disposal and disposal sites.
Sir Chris, and of course, we would appreciate the comments of everyone. For disposal, is it proper if we just delete the terms dumping, spilling, leaking?
Yes, yes, that's fine.
So, disposal, how about discharges po? Should we
Very
delete the term discharge?
uh, yes. Actually, uh, any solid waste, then you're only left with the placing of a land, right?
Into land? Okay. So, is to leaking. So, disposal, deposit or solid waste into,
I think that's more
okay?
Can I add something on letter G?
Dr. Molina.
Uh, yes, place the word approve, because if we again is prohibited, so the word approve proposal site.
Yep.
To remove the word land, to approve proposal facility.
Chair, I would add pursuant to RA 9003 that dictates the facilities.
So, just to please give us your feedback if this refers to the depot any solid waste site. I'm to you and Sir Chris.
Chair,
Attorney,
pursuant because it's RA 9003 that dictates the disposal facility.
Thank you. Thank you. In site pursuant 03. So once again, the deposit any solid waste disposal site 900. So now let's each disposal site is where charged and do we have instead of the word Dr. Chris placed na lang po instead of discharge. Yes,
See, be consistent with paragraph 8.
Paul, okay? Integrate at site refers to a site where solid waste is found pursuant to
agree.
Attorney Tim. Consistency um refers Maybe just to link it to the land earlier.
Thank you, Attorney Mona. Okay. So the new proposal reads as follows. Disposal. Now we don't, since we replace it with
That's why I think because now that we the then where you can dispose. And if we just use site here, then it doesn't give enough guidance, I think. Unless we contemplate a disposal site that's not land. Is that the thinking behind it?
actually, Attorney Mona, like in the Semacao landfill in Singapore, it's
Water,
actually
no?
not land, but they dump it into water and
Yeah.
then it reclaimed land. Yes. Would you like to propose an alternative wording po?
Sige, we'll think about it further. But I'm just thinking because we deleted land in G, now there's not enough guidance because we go back to disposal site and use of the term site again in H. So we'll think about it and we'll propose to the committee an alternative language for this. Thank you.
Thank you,
Attorney,
Attorney. Yeah,
I see
yes.
for letter H. Perhaps we can change the word site to facility in letter H.
Facility. There's a
Yeah.
proposal here that from Sir Chris that instead of the word site, we will use a facility so that it's comprehensive enough. So allow me to just read it. Disposal site refers to a facility where solid waste is finally deposited and placed pursuant to RA 9003.
Okay.
Attorney Mona, is this
Yes,
amenable
yes.
to you po?
Yeah, I think that works now. It gives more guidance. Thank you.
Question po, question.
Yes po. Yeah. Yes, Sir Glenn.
Uh, when we are referring to disposal and disposal sites, are we also referring to residues or waste that will be generated by the waste to energy facilities? Because when these materials underwent the processing of the waste to energy facilities, then iba na ang magiging characteristics ng mga residues nito and waste. And I think hindi lang RA 9003 ang makukuburn dito. And besides, do we already have a complete study of the toxicity and other characterization of residues from waste to energy facilities?
Sir Glenn, I think for the disposal site, ito yung for the parang for the final, not necessarily waste to energy, ano, but it's for, kasi every time there's, di ba, meron talagang matitirang waste after waste to energy process. So, some of that will go to the disposal site or yung treatment will depend on the kind of waste generated. I think yung concern mo, sir, it will be better addressed sa ibang sections natin on the guidelines. Kasi here, we're just defining it. I think the concern goes more into what the guidelines should be in terms of treatment of the residues. And we can discuss that po later when we go to the sections on the responsibilities of the agencies and the WTE facilities. Okay lang po ba, Sir Glenn?
Okay lang siguro as long as it is clear that what we are referring here are waste before undergoing WTE facilities.
Sir Chris, perhaps we can ask for comments on what Sir Glenn said. Yung definition natin ngayon is yung disposal site refers to a facility where solid waste is finally deposited and placed. But yung definition, pero yung sabi ni Sir Glenn is yung disposal site should refer to facilities kung saan hindi yung residues ng WTE yung ilalagay. Tama po ba, Sir Glenn? Yung
Yes, yes, attorney.
okay, sige. Sir Chris, perhaps we can hear from you po.
Yeah, I think the way the disposal site is defined here, it focuses on solid waste and nothing else. No, so go back to the definition of solid waste. If it is ash or others, there are different protocols or guidelines as to their disposal. So if you look at this disposal site would only refer to solid waste, and that's very clear.
Yeah. Thank you, Sir Chris. So, to address yung concern ni Sir Glenn, so we're clear here that the disposal site refers to a facility for solid waste. Yung for ash and yung other residues, hindi dito kasama.
That's clear. So, i-heads up ko na rin siguro later on that maybe we should also define residues, effluents, or other discharges from the waste to energy facilities. Thank you.
Sige. Yeah, thank you, Sir Glenn. Okay, now let's move on to any other comments on disposal site. Okay, no other comments. Now let's move on to the definition of emission. So this is actually a proposal from DANR to include the definition of emission from RA 8749 or the Clean Air Act. So emission means any air contaminant, pollutant, gas stream, or unwanted sound from a known source which is passed into the atmosphere. Do you have other comments on this? Okay, no comments. Now let's move on to letter J, feedstock. Feedstock refers to a waste utilized as fuel for a waste to energy facility. So, there's a proposal from UP Environmental Engineering Program. They said that WTE feedstock refers to the high calorific value waste materials that are taken in for waste to energy processing, because feedstock is the input material to a process while fuel is used to provide energy requirement of a process. WTE processes do not have a net energy requirement. Do we have the representative from UP Environmental Engineering Program here?
Yeah, yes, this is Analisa Rolion from UP Environmental Engineering Program.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, because if we use fuel here as a word, it may also be confusing with WTE facilities where the output is not electricity but rather a fuel itself. So in a technical language, fuel means it's to support the energy requirement, meaning there's a net energy input. Whereas in WTE facilities, there should be a net sort of energy output because the energy output comes from the material itself. So it's more appropriate to define it as it is. I mean, as I've said, that it refers to the high calorific value waste materials that are taken in for waste to energy processing in a WTE facility. So that is into waste to energy processing.
Okay, so there's a proposal here from UP Envi Engineering Program. So it's waste feedstock refers to waste feedstock refers to WTE feedstock. Yeah, WTE feedstock refers to the high calorific value waste materials that are taken in for waste to energy processing in a waste to energy facility.
I think that's it. Or
in a waste to energy facility.
Sir Chair.
Yes, Sir Chris.
Yeah, I just want to clarify lang from our colleagues from the UPEEP, no? Would this cover the biodegradable component where you recover methane? Because you might be limiting it if you only focus on the high calorific value waste.
Yeah, actually, biomass is also considered high calorific. It's just that it contains high moisture content. But then it requires another process, not a thermal treatment process, perhaps. No?
Mhm.
So I think just to be applicable for the general meaning of waste to energy.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, a question for UPEP. Instead of high calorific value, would the phrasing refers to waste materials with calorific value so that it would be more general
Yeah, it can
rather
also
than
be.
the qualifier high on calorific value? Would that work?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Excuse me po.
Yes, yes po. Yes, Sir Glenn.
Oo. When we say with calorific value, that this means that we are considering all waste because anything has calorific value, may it be low or high. Now,
Yes.
second is, I think what the speaker from UP Environmental Engineering refers to is the process that involves other waste to energy technology, no? Such as pyrolysis and gasification, wherein in the first stage, there is the conversion of waste into synthetic gas. And if this is waste to energy facility, then this same gas or synthetic gas should be burned in order to run the turbine. So meaning also considering this type of technologies because once you burn this synthetic gas, then there is also this high possibility of emitting toxic and fumes.
Yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong from the UP Environmental Engineering Program. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just looking at the general meaning of waste to energy. Because if we are actually here prohibiting other types of waste to energy facilities, I think we just define it in which waste to energy facility would like to prohibit. But then if we are going to define feedstock, it's so confusing when we say that we use it as a fuel, when in fact it can also be processed into a fuel because we defined waste to energy as a conversion of waste into it can be heat, it can be electricity or fuel. So I think that's the confusing part when we use the word fuel because we can also say it's a feedstock. It is an input material for processing in a waste to energy facility. So it can also be just as simple as that without the use of high calorific value phrase.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Annalisa. Sir Glenn, I think to address your concern, the the bill doesn't actually state that it prefers or prohibits certain technologies because as we know, technologies evolve over time as well as the monitoring and the pollution abatement control technologies also evolve. But just for this particular subsection, we're just defining the WTE feedstock. To address your concerns po, like kanina, what if yung sa synthetic gas and if it's used, it will um, yung magiging byproducts ng pag-burn ng synthetic gas, that will be addressed po sa guidelines later sa section natin sa responsibilities ng WTE facilities tapos yung responsibilities ng DENR and DOH. So we just, in the definition po, we don't want to be limiting because as we know, technologies evolve over time po. So we'll note po yung concern mo about that, but we can better address that po when we go to the guidelines later.
Okay, klaro naman, Attorney Kim. Would just also like to reiterate that what we are referring to is feedstocks are those that remain after the application of 5R principle of the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, which is actually part of the declaration of state policy. So meaning, medyo na-narrow down na natin yung pinag-uusapan natin na waste to energy feedstock dito. Correct?
Is the question addressed to me?
Hindi po, ma'am. Opo.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Sir Glenn. As we said late kanina na when we talk about the feedstock, ito na yung nasa tail end ng 5 hours natin. So yun po, hindi po natin sinasabi na we're not encouraging waste generation. But what we're saying is, yung sa tail end after ng 5 hours, ito yung gagamitin natin as feedstock. So kung ano yung recyclable, of course we want it to be recycled, yung ganoon po. But no need naman to qualify here kasi sa definition of terms lang. Baka so yun po, Sir Glenn. Oo, just to affirm yun po. Okay, do we have other comments?
Thank you pa.
Thank you. So our new definition for feedstock is as follows. Thank you to everyone who gave their feedback and comments. Waste to energy feedstock refers to the waste materials with calorific value that are taken in for waste to energy processing in a waste to energy facility. So other comments? Okay, no more comments. Now let's move on to the next definition for generation. So for generation, we're based on DNR's proposal, we're just copying the definition from RA 9003, which states generation refers to the act or process of producing solid waste. But there's a proposal from UP Environmental Engineering Program that we qualify it to waste generation, just for clarity. Siguro maybe we can hear from DNR. Is that okay po if we make it waste generation instead of generation lang?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes po,
Good morning.
DNR.
Sir Chair, yeah. No, ano po, okay po yun. That will be more, appropriate.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So we'll be integrating yung suggestion ng UP EEP, so waste generation. So it's going to be waste generation, and then we're copying the definition from 9003. Is the act or refers to the act or process of producing solid waste. Any other comments on the definition of waste generation? Okay, now let's move on to letter L, the definition of generator. So the definition of generator is, we copied this from RA 9003, but we added another phrase. So it refers to a person, natural or juridical, who last uses a material and makes it available for disposal or recycling. For purposes of this act, a generator refers to the local government unit. The purpose of the addition, the last phrase, is because unlike in the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, wherein we refer to the households or other kinds of generators such as industrial or commercial establishments, here we're really just concerned with the LGU. So that's the reason why there's a qualification. But we would like to hear from the body if you think it's proper to just delete this second sentence, or is it okay to leave it? Do we have comments? There's also, just for consistency as well, we will make this waste generator.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, Chris. Apo.
Yeah, well, I just like to comment, no? Kasi are we limiting now? Kasi if you connect all these definitions, are we limiting source of feedstock that would be coming from LGUs? Kasi the industrial and commercial waste can be considered as feedstock also for facilities. So I just want to take caution lang that this does not limit source of feedstock for a waste to energy facility.
Thank you, Sir Chris. Yeah, yes po, you are correct. The commercial and the industrial establishments can also build their own, can also contract a WTE facility, or they can actually I guess come into agreement with an LGU that they want to join. Yeah, pwede. They can negotiate as well. So, just to provide that flexibility, we will be deleting this phrase po. Yung for purposes of this act, generator shall refer to the local government unit.
May be recognized.
Yes, yes po.
Hello.
Yes, Sir Glenn.
Po, medyo na-confuse lang ako, no? Kasi kanina, doon sa scope ng bill na ito, it only covers the LGUs and WTE operators, right? Now, if we are to include industries and they are going to put up their own WT facilities, then saan sila magpo-fall? Would we fall now as WTE operators?
Sir Glenn, thank you so much for that comment. So we'll take note of that. The what we're seeing siguro based on the comment of Sir Chris is yung waste generator can be anyone. Ah, but the bill right now, 'di ba, it gives a responsibility to LGUs na you need to cluster and you need to take into consideration WT if feasible siya for you. And then yung responsibilities ay meron tayong responsibilities for LGUs in relation to WTE facilities and meron tayong responsibilities for WTE facilities. Pero wala tayong responsibilities for waste generators as a whole. Kasi yung waste generators naman po, it's covered by the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act na. Yung responsibilities ng generators, nasa Ecological Solid Waste Management Act na. But we will take note of that, Sir Glenn, and then tingnan natin later kung anong maiba sa bill, and then we can reflect that naman later on. But i-note po natin while we're going through the discussion.
Thanks, Attorney Tim.
Chris? Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Chris, may tanong ako sa inyo sa Solid Waste Management Commission. Yung waste generator that includes commercial and industrial.
Yes.
And then in your in 9003, the generator can also dispose of their garbage in sanitary landfills.
Yes.
So ibig sabihin both municipal waste, commercial and industrial can dispose their garbage in sanitary landfills.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tama po.
So we just to be clear about that, because we have to take into consideration also commercial and industrial. Like for example, I was telling si Paul, yung mga malls, no? Malls are considered commercial eh.
Yes.
Obviously, they also have waste from fast food, waste from their tenants that we need to dispose of, no? And that will not magically go away, no? Hindi naman pwedeng municipal waste sa WTE and then commercial industrial sa landfill, no? That's not the we're not contemplating that. So just to move on, we will include commercial and industrial, and then later on we can go back in the scope just to be consistent that we are also covering commercial and industrial, of course subject to 9003 because that's the governing law for commercial and industrial.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Glenn.
Yes, I would like to be clarified on the statement of the National Solid Waste Commission a while ago that commercial, industrial, and industrial generators of waste can dispose their waste to sanitary landfill because hindi ko yata nakita yun sa Ecological Solid Waste Management Act.
Okay.
Chris, go ahead. Can you please answer?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. No, just to respond to Glenn, well, the allowed final disposal is only a sanitary landfill. The law dictates that the municipality or the city is responsible for household and institutional waste generated for the disposal of that. No? The commercial and industrial establishments also with the policies of DENR are required to look for their own disposal facilities. No? And having said that, they also dispose of in the sanitary landfills at present, but at no cost to government, at their own cost. That's how the law is framed. Hindi natin pwede sabihin na hindi sila nagtatapon sa sanitary landfill. Sa sanitary landfill din po sila nagtatapon, pero ang pagtapon nila sa sanitary landfill sarili po nilang gastos.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Chris. Actually, based on our discussion last week, we emphasized that sa Section 10A na sinabi natin na yung commercial and industrial establishments, it's their responsibility to take care of their waste just to make sure na we're consistent with 9003 po. Okay, Sir Glenn, okay na po ba? Na-address po yung concern nyo. As we've said, we'll take note yung pag-include ng commercial and industrial. Pwede naman natin
Sige ma'am, I'm taking notes po. Okay,
Apo.
okay po ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Sir Glenn.
Attorney Tim,
Yeah.
Attorney Tim, may I say something?
Yes, Dr. Malina.
Okay, yeah, for going back to letter L. May I know how was the word waste generator used in the bill?
Dr. Malina, one moment lang po.
Okay po.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, may I respond? Yes, it was used in the bill under FS.
Yeah. Okay. So, yung sa generator, sir, if yung in the bill we referred to it actually na yung sa generator we referred to it when we defined the tipping charge. Yun lang actually yung kanyang the reason why naalala ko na yung reason why na we said that the generator is actually the LGU kasi when we defined yung sa tipping charge we're referring to the amount paid by the generator, which is the LGU, to the waste to energy facility.
Thank you, Attorney Tim. That's why I asked the question because our definition for this should not cover everything. I suggest that definition should be true to the purpose and scope of the bill. So I think the second sentence that was crossed out might be a good definition for waste generator in this case. Yeah, just that one. Just and remove everything. That's my suggestion.
Maybe recognized.
Yeah, yes, may you speaking? Yes, Yusek Echeverry. Actually, pwede na.
I agree with the previous speaker. Yes, for purposes of this generator definition and for purposes of this act, we really need to put the second paragraph there, the second sentence then. Because again, waste generator can be very broad. But we really need to indicate this sentence so as for there's significant use.
Yeah. Okay. Just for the suggestion of just for comments from the body, there's only just one reference to the use of the term generator, and that's insofar as the tipping charge is concerned. Now, what we can do is so that we can settle this, we can actually just delete the definition for waste generator. And then later, instead of the term generator, we'll just refer to the LGU since it's actually the LGU that pays for the tipping fee. Or any other or LGU or any other body that utilizes a WTE facility. just to be encompassing any other entity that utilizes a waste to energy facility.
But there's a separate for that.
Yes po. Meron tayong yung definition. Sige, let's go to the definition ng tipping charge kasi connected sila. Jen, can we please go? Okay. So please note yung definition natin sa waste generator, tapos yung definition natin, punta tayo muna ngayon temporarily sa definition ng tipping fee.
Processing fee, I think. Processing.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Mona. So, yung tipping fee, we change it to processing fee. Okay. So, for tipping fee, first muna, we changed it to processing fee because from various meetings, it was pointed out that the tipping fee is actually the amount paid to the final disposal site. So para clear lang na yung tipping fee sa final disposal site yon kapag WTE facility, processing fee siya. We can discuss later kung may iba kayong term na mas gusto. And anyway, it's just a terminology. So the definition here is, it refers to the amount paid by a generator to a WTE facility for the disposal of waste. Actually, we can change this to the amount paid by an entity to a waste to energy facility for the treatment of waste. Kasi hindi naman disposal yung WTE facility, di ba? It's really a resource recovery facility. Kasi you generate energy from the waste. So, we can settle this, and then if we settle this, we can go back to the definition ng waste generator, whether we'll still be including it or not. So, okay po ba? So, let's settle first yung definition ng processing fee. And then, if we agree na hindi na tayo gagamit ng term na generator, pwede nating i-delete yung waste generator na term. Okay, so, refers to the amount of... Yes po.
Yeah, sorry, Attorney Tim, Attorney Mona again. No, I just want to say I agree with this approach because again, it allows for more flexibility in structuring the project. Because if we already identify, for example, only the LGU as the entity paying the processing fee, then that already sets a limit to the possible project structure for a WTE facility. So by saying by an entity, payable by an entity, that allows for more flexibility later on.
And attorney, I'd just like to add, for this case, you refer to treatment of waste, not disposal.
So, Sir Chris, may we ask for feedback on this? Yung waste to energy facility natin, di ba, it's both a solid waste management facility and it's also an energy production facility, whether power or biofuel or gas or heat. Ano po yung tamang terminology? So it's the amount paid by an entity to a waste to energy facility for the treatment, disposal of waste. Ano po yung tama?
Yeah, treatment is the correct term. Because if you talk of disposal, it's disposal as under RA 9003, disposal is only sanitary landfills. Becomes restrictive. So this one is treatment. This is separate from disposal.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Chris. Okay, so going back to the definition of processing fee, refers to the amount paid by an entity to a waste energy facility for the treatment of waste. This is also consistent sa definition natin ng disposal kasi if we use yung definition natin sa disposal, hindi na applicable yung WTE. So any comments on this?
Hello.
Yes, Sir Glenn.
Apo, para clear lang po, no? Kanina kasi nabanggit yung waste to energy. I think dapat klaro na a facility should produce energy for it to be considered a waste to energy facility, not just treatment. Kasi medyo confusing iyon. Some facilities ay hanggang treatment lang at hindi naman talaga nagpo-produce ng energy at nagsusupply sa grid, no? And it will defeat the purpose. Yung sinasabi kanina na this law intention is for energy sustainability and security. So yun lang, para klaro lang. For it to be considered a waste to energy facility, it should or it must produce energy and contribute to the grid. Thank you.
Sir, ano lang, I think yung concern mo, it's going to be addressed sa definition natin sa waste to energy at saka sa waste to energy facility. Kasi, Sir Chris, please correct me if I'm wrong. Tama po ba na yung waste to energy na facility, it's where waste, ay ano lang to like in layman's term, just to make sure na clear to. So, di ba, waste is treated in a waste is treated in a facility, and it undergoes a WTE process wherein nako-convert yung waste into heat, electricity, or fuel. Yun yung reason kung bakit treatment yung term na ginagamit natin. Pero yung concern ni Sir Glenn, ma-address sa definition natin later ng waste to energy at ng waste to energy facility.
Yep.
Tama po ba, Sir Chris?
Yes, I think it is covered by what waste, the definition of waste to energy. It doesn't qualify if you just treat the waste without recovery of energy. Kasi you go back to the definition of waste to energy and waste to energy facility, that there has to be an output product for it to be qualified.
So thank you Sir Chris. So Sir Glenn, ano na lang po, later yung comments nyo po sa definition ng waste to energy at waste to energy facility, just to address your concern. So
Yeah, can I suggest a way forward with this definition?
Oh yes, Yusek.
Yes, if we just, instead of for the treatment, so let me read this. Refers to the amount paid by an entity to a waste to energy facility as defined in item 2 and II and JJ, because we don't have to have two definitions in two separate places in the bill. So as defined in definition II and JJ, which is at the latter part.
Thank you, sir. Sir, ano na lang, para mas madali, gawin na lang natin as defined herein.
Yes, or herein. Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so
Wala na rin yung treatment of waste.
Yes.
Waste to energy facility as defined herein.
Yes, thank you, Yusek Pexon. So, okay, based on everyone's feedback and comments, so processing fee now reads, processing fee refers to the amount paid by an entity to a waste to energy facility as defined herein. Okay na po ba? Any other comments?
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Molina? Okay na po? Pwede
Okay na po. Yeah.
Okay, pwede tayong bumalik sa waste generator na definition. So going back, so pwede na po nating i-delete yung waste generator na definition since hindi na tayo nag-refer to a generator in the definition of processing fee. So is everybody amenable to that po? So we'll now delete the term waste generator. Okay, so let's now delete it. Now, let's go to the definition of hazardous waste. So I'll just make a qualification. So yung hazardous waste natin na definition, it integrates yung definition sa Section 5H ng RA 6969 at saka yung definition na nasa Senate Bill 363. Yung mga naka-blue po, ito yung definition na galing sa Section 5H of RA 6969. Tapos yung black, yun yung sa 363. So let me just read it po. Hazardous waste refers to byproducts, side products, process residues, spent reaction media, contaminated plant or equipment, or other substances from manufacturing operations, and as a customer discards of manufactured products, comma, or a combination of solid waste which, because of its quantity, concentration, physical, chemical, or infectious characteristics may, number one, cause or significantly contribute to an increase in mortality or an increase in serious, irreversible, or incapacitating reversible illness, or number two, pose a substantial present or potential hazard to human health or the environment when improperly treated, stored, transported, or disposed of or otherwise managed. It includes, dapat period to, it includes substances that are without any safe, commercial, industrial, agricultural, or economic usage that are shipped, transported, or brought from the country of origin for dumping or disposal into or transit through any part of the territory of the Philippines. Do we have other comments po on hazardous waste, or does this encompass all possible hazardous waste po?
Mr. Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, Sir Chris.
Yeah, okay. I just like to refer to the definition under RA 6969, no? You only got the first part of the RA 6969 definition. RA 6969 has another paragraph wherein it says that hazardous waste shall also refer to byproducts, side product process residues, spent reaction media, contaminated plant or equipment or other substances from manufacturing operations as as consumer discards or manufactured products. Well, what I'm saying here is that it seems that the paragraph that is here is actually written and copied from 6969, but the first part is actually the second section. So my proposal is, can we just not copy what is in 6969 so that we have standardization of definitions in different laws?
Okay. Sir, actually yung first paragraph sa 6969, yun yung last paragraph natin dito. Yung can you go down dyan, please? Oo. Yung without any safe commercial industrial, ayun. Pwede, what we can do, Sir Chris, is we can just follow what you said. I-copy na lang natin. Tapos I think yung the rest na nadagdag sa 363, would you want na tanggalin na lang lahat na nasa 363 and you'll just copy in toto yung nasa 6969 po?
That's a proposal, Mr. Chair, no? If we can just copy so that we can, because the problem is having a different definition now might come up with a different interpretation. You know how it is on the ground. So I would propose that we just copy what 6969 has, just for consistency of different laws lang.
Sir Chris, if I remember correctly, we just copied this definition from one IRR. Wait lang, let me double check kung yeah, oo. Sir, yung definition na to, we actually just copied it sa IRR ng 9003, which is a different, it's a different definition sa 6969 po. Let me read po yung nasa IRR ng 9003. Hazardous waste shall refer to solid waste or combination of solid waste which because of its quantity, concentration, or physical, chemical, or infectious characteristics may cause or significantly contribute to an increase in mortality or an increase in serious irreversible or incapacitating reversible illness or pose a substantial present or potential hazard to human health or the environment when improperly treated, stored, transported, or disposed of or otherwise managed. Maybe we could ask for feedback from the body. Which definition will we follow? The definition in the IRR of 9003 or the definition in 69 RA 6969?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Dr. Manrida.
say something. May I just say a general comment under section 4, no, the definition of terms. I think for the purpose of defining the terms, no, as being used in the bill, I think we cannot just copy uh, definitions from any bill in total because we would like to. I think that the idea of redefining a term here is to be able to align the definition with the specific object of the. So, for example, hazardous waste on the upper part, it is defined here that hazardous waste would include contaminated plant and equipment, which looking at the purpose of the bill, no, and this contaminated plastic equipment cannot be accepted by the WTO technology. So what I'm saying here is yes, we can refer to the definitions of other laws, but there might be some risk and copying in toto all the state. So I think the reason why we are doing this because uh, the purpose of doing this is to be able to align the definition as far as the scope and purpose of the bill the current bill we are reviewing. So I would like to suggest that we take some what do you call this? Yeah, we take some precautions in terms of copying in toto definitions from other existing bills. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Molina. So, we also checked yung hazardous waste na naka-black. This is actually the definition also in 9003. So right now, we have two kinds of definitions sa hazardous waste. Yung nasa 9003 at saka yung nasa 6969. Yung nasa copies po natin, it it merges the definition of both laws. So may we ask the body how you would want to proceed po from a technical point of view, is it best to include the definition of both laws, or is it best to just use the definition of 9003, or is it best to just use the definition of 6969? Perhaps you can hear from NSWMC, si Sir Chris, and also from DENR, and perhaps from DOH as well.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, no? Okay, I just looked at the law, no? Yeah, tama. I think you just copied RA 9003. And I think the original version that you had, no? I'm withdrawing my proposal to change it, no? You copied it out of RA 9003, which makes sense because it looks into the solid waste component, the hazardous component of solid waste, no? So I think the original crafting is okay. And if you look at it also, RA 9003 was a later bill as compared to 6969.
Thank you, Sir Chris. So the proposal here is we will follow the definition in 363 because this is copied in toto from RA 9003. Do you have other comments from the body on this?
Attorney, ma'am.
Yes, Sir Glenn. Apo.
Yes, yeah, because we are consistently referring to RA 9003 and RA 6969. I think it is just proper to use the definition therein in the definition of this bill of hazardous waste. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Glenn. So ano lang po, so that we can settle. So ito po yung options natin. Ay, tatlo po yung options natin. A, we will follow the 9003 definition. Ito po yung naka-black. Only the 9003 definition. B, we will follow only the 6969 version. Ito yung naka-blue, yung nasa first part and yung nasa last part. I-rearrange lang natin. Or 3, i-merge natin yung dalawang definition. So, si Sir Chris from NSWMC said that it might be best to follow yung sa 9003 since it refers to hazardous waste from the context of solid waste, which is what we're concerned with. And also 9003 is a later bill. Ayun po. Can we hear from are there other comments from the body?
Madam Chair.
Yes po.
Yeah, I agree with Sir Chris to focus on RA 9003 because actually this is the main intention of the bill. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, DNR, okay po ba? Now we will follow the 9003 definition.
I'm Fatima from DNR. The definition of the definition of hazardous waste under RA 6969 is a general concept referring to all hazardous waste, whereas under RA 9003 specific for solid waste. Now, in the earlier discussion on the definition of Dun po sa may ano, yung sa waste generator, sa treatment facility. Wait lang. Kasi if we have to adapt the definition of hazardous waste under RA 6969, the waste generator will be subjected to permits under that specific law. So yung ano po kasi kanina, yung sa waste to energy, as a treatment facility, may ano din po doon. Kasi we have the treatment, storage, and disposal facility under RA 6969. So,
Yes, Attorney.
parang paano siya pwedeng i-rep.
Thank you, ma'am. To clarify, you are not in. You don't hold the position that RA 9003 as a later law supersedes the definition under RA 6969. Rather, you are saying that they are governing different things. And so the definition in 6969 remains intact, even if the definition in RA 9003 is different. Is this fair?
Yes, yes, sir. But, still for purposes of this law, of this bill, it's okay to merge both the definitions under 6969 and 9003.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Attorney Tim.
Yes, Sir Glenn. Opo.
I would like to modify my proposal. I was reminded by the Basel Plan Amendment, which restricts the movement of hazardous waste. So I think we have to strike out the portion where it includes hazardous waste from or substances from other origin outside Philippine jurisdiction.
Okay. So, yung proposal, so just to backtrack, yung DNR is okay with merging the definition, and SWMC, Dr. Molina, and si Sir Glenn from Noburn, Philippines, would want na 9003 kasi yung sa bottom, yung latter na part na to, can you please go down dyan? Yung substances that are ship transported, sabi ni Sir Glenn, it's against the Basel Convention, tama po?
Yes, attorney.
Pero Sir Glenn, i-bring up ko lang po, yung dinidefine natin yung hazardous waste, but we're not actually saying na allowed siya. And then I think meron tayong section na sinabi natin na prohibited yung imported waste. So I think that will address yung making sure that we comply with the Basel Convention po.
As long as they are restricted, hazardous or otherwise, okay kami doon. Basta bawal yung from out of the Philippines.
Okay, sige. So that we can move forward lang. For the purposes of the TWG, thank you to everyone who gave their feedback. We will be merging both the definitions, but we'll be rearranging it lang. Hindi yung ganito na weird na naka-separate yung definition ng 6969 sa top and bottom. So we'll just rearrange it. And then, siguro when we circulate the clean copy, please give your feedback right away. Pwede naman natin pag-isipan pa. Work in progress naman yung bill natin. But for the purposes of the TWG, we'll be merging the definition of 6969 and 9003, of course, subject to style and subject to comments, by further comments by the body. Okay po? Now, if you have other comments on the definition of hazardous waste, pa-send na lang po ng position paper sa amin para lang we can move forward. But we take note of the concerns of everyone. Okay, now let's move on to the definition of incineration. Yung sa definition ng incineration, this was decided upon during yung nakalagay dito na definition, it's a product of the discussion, yung small group discussion with the agencies that will be implementing it. So, I'll read it lang po. Incineration refers to a waste treatment and resource recovery technology that involves the controlled combustion of waste materials converts them to ash, flue gas, and heat, and whose toxic and poisonous fumes, if any, are rendered harmless through emission control facilities prior to the release to the environment. So i-read ko lang po yung nasa footnote 15, bakit ganito yung itsura niya. So this actually incorporates the DOST definition and the definition provided by Mr. Lau from NSWMC and the discussion during the pre-TWG. The discussion during the pre-TWG small group meeting is as follows. Incineration is a technology. It is a thermal treatment or burning part of the whole process. If you talk of emissions, it is on the end side. So the emission control is what determines whether or not there will be toxic or poisonous fumes. And it's the process of burning that dictates emissions rather than the process itself. How you burn and how you filter the air coming from the furnace will dictate the emission. It will produce or emit gases that can be considered toxic if it will not be provided with adequate control facilities before discharging to the atmosphere. So it's allowed provided it will not emit toxic and poisonous fumes. This is per RA 9003 and the MMDA versus Hancom Supreme Court case, but it requires management and emission controls. So ano po, we know na yung UP gave a technical definition for incineration, but what we wanted po, the purpose why ganito yung itsura niya is we wanted to be clear sa definition pa lang na this is the type of incineration that is allowed under 9003 and under the MMDA versus Hancom Supreme Court case. So yun po yung reason bakit ganito yung itsura ng definition ng incineration natin. Okay, can we get comments from the body?
Okay po.
I have a comment.
I'm waiting for others to... Pwede po po.
From Davao City.
Attorney Tristan, may we know who's speaking po?
Attorney Tristan Domingo from Davao City.
Yes, Attorney Tristan, yes po.
The current definition provided that it's basically it's acceptable if it's rendered harmless. So I just like to make it a point that I think there are enough standards now which can actually classify which is what would refer to a rendered harmless. I think with the recent issuance of the DNR of PWD guidelines, they even provided there a exact measurement. So what I will recommend on behalf of the city is if we can actually quantify this one, because from our point of view, it is right now quantifiable. So perhaps we can just a suggestion, you can consider it or not. Maybe we can add as a final qualification of what can be rendered as harmless is something that is, or we can add in the last word, which is, it is environment and determined to be whether compliant, passed, or accepted to existing Philippine government or DNR standards. Because if we limit, we just say it's harmless, it's the same as the previous law, which is saying that which is not toxic and poisonous. So there's really no way of determining, because at the end of the day, any amount of dioxin and furans can and is always considered as harmful. So it's always open to debate, and that is, I think, the main point of us enacting this law is to clarify that indeed waste to energy, or simply put, incineration, is allowed provided that it is or the furious, toxic emissions and everything are compliant with acceptable standards.
Yes, Attorney Paul.
Madam Chair, a question to the environmental engineer. Can, instead of harmless, can a different modifier be used, such as inert, for example? Inert fumes accepted naman, inert gases. Basically, when we speak of inert, these are gases which do not interact anymore with other compounds. Is the representation from UP still there? Or from the body, the medical experts?
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, may I say something?
Yes, Dr. Molina.
Okay. Perhaps may not be inert, but in place of the word harmless, perhaps we can put the word less.
Kind
Because as I agree with the attorney from the that any amount of dioxin influence may a particular risk. No? So there's no such thing as zero risk. So perhaps instead of the word using the word harmless, which is a very general statement, perhaps we can qualify it to be less harmful. No? So less harmful, just a way of restating it.
One moment. I'm typing an alternative definition lang po just to address that. Teka lang po.
Thank you.
Okay. Is this I think is this more general? Will this address the concern but at the same time is general enough? Kasi yun na parang and whose emissions are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. Kasi nakakatakot, sabi nga ni Senator, nakakatakot na sinasabi natin na they can actually produce toxic and poisonous fumes but they're just rendered harmless. So we want it na the emissions are compliant with the guidelines. Well, and
From Davao, stand me. I think yes, the current revision is better than the existing one.
Thank you. Okay, so let's ano lang pa. So incineration refers to a waste treatment and resource recovery technology that involves the controlled combustion of waste materials, converts them to ash, flue gas, and heat, and whose emissions are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. Ano lang po, just to assure everyone, yung enumeration ng loss na to nakalagay mamaya sa guidelines, yung nakalagay mamaya sa responsibilities. Para clear tayo kung ano yung mga loss na yon. Is this okay na po? Do we have
Madam Chair, meron akong
Yes,
comment.
Yusek Pexon.
Yusek Pexon, yes. The first comment is that I did a word search, look for incineration in the main body of the bill, and I did not find any except in the definition of terms. So, which begs the question, why do we need to define something that is not mentioned anywhere else in the body of the bill? The second question is, there are many types of incineration. So, without a qualifier before the word incineration, it seems that we are defining or providing a definition to any type of incineration. So, for example, if I'm cooking a barbecue in my house using charcoal, that I'm incinerating the charcoal, but I don't think that would the definition we are providing would fit what I'm doing when I'm cooking barbecue. So I think we need to qualify this statement further. Perhaps if we really need to have this definition, then I would propose to insert the word control before incineration. So therefore, we are defining another subset of incineration. But I would then jump to, if I were to read what is in my mind, controlled incineration refers to the controlled combustion of waste materials, take away waste treatment and resource recovery, because then really incineration is simply burning. So we seem to be mixing a definition of waste to energy with a definition of a very common term, incineration, and that will be quite confusing. I
Thank
agree also that the emissions should pertain to compliance with the standards set by the Clean Air Act and also the Clean Water Act, because it's not just gaseous emissions, it's also water effluents that could be produced by a waste to energy facility.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Yusek Pekson. Yes, Attorney Paul.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If we are going to adopt the recommendation of controlled incineration, then the penultimate paragraph of Section 5, which states that the process of incineration shall be allowed in a waste to energy facility, it should be the process of controlled incineration. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Yusek Pekson, actually, the use of incineration is, I mean, the definition of incineration is crucial because in Section 5, which is the most contentious part of this bill, we're saying that incineration is allowed in a WTE facility. Now, I understand that the way incineration is defined here is not actually the incineration uh, that's uh, that's defined in RA 9003 kasi as you said nga, any form of burning is actually incineration. Just to qualify, what we can do, the incineration defined here is actually very specific to incineration in a WTE facility. So what we can do is we can qualify this as incineration in a WTE facility. Oo.
Yeah, we just really need to qualify what we are referring to so that it doesn't confuse the public. Because incineration again is a common word also. I mean, at least as I know it. So the second part, my second question is, do we need to include refers to a waste treatment and resource recovery technology? Because that seems to pertain not to incineration, but to the WTE. It's a part of the definition of WTE, not incineration per se.
Yeah. Sir, yun nga. The reason why the reason why just to qualify, no, the reason why that the definition looks like this is because we want to define the allowed incineration in a WTE facility. So yun po yung context why the definition looks like that it's actually incineration in a WTE facility na because 'di ba it is waste treatment and resource recovery technology yung WTE mismo. Siguro Um, Yusek Pekson, just to, ano po, we just want to ask, will qualifying the definition to incineration in a WTE facility address your concern? And then yung sa emissions, gusto nyo pong ilagyan din natin ng effluents?
Oh.
Emissions and effluents are...
Yeah, so my question really starts with the word refers to a waste treatment. So are you talking of incineration or are you talking of the waste to energy facility? That's the part that makes this a bit confusing because incineration really refers to the controlled combustion. So, but we inserted the phrase refers to a waste treatment. But then you are talking of the WTE facility, no longer the incineration part. Incineration is just an element of waste to energy. It's not the complete waste to energy process.
Okay, sige. Yusek Pekson, sige. So the new proposed definition is this. Incineration in a WTE facility refers to the controlled combustion of waste materials, converting them to ash, flue gas, and heat, and whose emissions are and effluents are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. Can we get comments from the body on this new definition, on this proposed definition? So, once again, incineration in a WTE facility refers to the controlled combustion of waste materials, converting them to ash, flue gas, and heat, and whose emissions and effluents are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. Sir Chris, can we get feedback from NSWMC po?
Yeah, okay. Incineration kasi is actually a waste treatment process, no? So removing a waste treatment and resource recovery technology, ano kasi okay, when you look at it, incineration is one of the technologies that can be applied to recover energy. There's gasification, there's a lot of other technologies, no? Here, I think the objective here is to clearly define what incineration is and what type of incineration is acceptable in a waste to energy facility here in the Philippines. My recommendation is not to delete that phrase that says it's a waste treatment and resource recovery technology that involves. No? Again, when you look at it, because incineration can be very broad, and I agree that for the purposes of this act, limited to the WTE facility, but it's actually technically a waste treatment and resource recovery technology where you recover the energy. Okay, just to comment further, if you remove that phrase, then you are opening it to your barbecue is not energy recovery, right? So I suggest to retain that and leave it as it's reflected right
But
now.
but that's precisely my point, Chris, and also Madam Secretariat. If a farmer, let me ask this question: a farmer that generates waste, tawag natin ipa, and burns that waste in open air in an open dump, that's also incineration. But I won't call it a waste treatment or resource recovery technology. So incineration is just, again, a component of a process that will eventually convert the heat into, say, electricity or something else that will be useful. But again, we need to be careful, as you know, this is a very controversial word in the Clean Air Act, and it's really going to create a lot of passion. So we need to be very sure that people don't misunderstand that we're not referring to practices that, that really don't treat the waste, nor those that do not recover resource. And that's why we have a definition of waste to energy. So the waste to energy definition captures that, but incineration has to be controlled in order that the waste to energy facility will meet the standards set by the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act.
Thank you, Yusek Pekson. I think your concerns will be captured by this definition because first of all, what we're defining is not just incineration, but we're defining incineration in a WTE facility. Since what we're defining is incineration in a WTE facility, then this will justify the inclusion of the phrase that it's a waste treatment and resource recovery technology because we're referring to incineration as part of a WTE process. Um, so hindi siya, we're not referring to incineration, but what we're defining here is incineration in a WTE facility. So since it's incineration in a WTE facility, it can refer to a waste treatment and resource recovery technology that involves the controlled combustion of waste and then whose emissions and effluents are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. And later on, we've also included yung sinama natin na laws, yung Clean Air Act, yung Clean Water Act, yung environmental impact assessment, yung sa Universal Healthcare Act that requires health impact assessment, yung 6969, and other existing laws po that the incineration in a WTE facility must comply with. Opo. Yeah, Sir Glenn, opo, do you want to give feedback?
Yes, ma'am. Opo. Hindi ko lang why are we trying to deviate from an internationally accepted definition of incineration, either incineration itself or incineration in a WTE facility. Because when we incineration, it is actually burning, whether controlled or not. It is technically incineration. No? Baka mas yung how to operationalize yung incineration later on sa provisions which are allowed or which are not allowed, baka mas doon pa eh. Pero dito kasi baka magmukhang katawa-tawa tayo if we use a definition that is not consistent with the internationally accepted definition technically, scientifically, and legally. Incineration is incineration. Wala nang ibang, we cannot sugarcoat it. It's a very concrete term, very scientific, and it has to be accurate. Katulad ng sinasabi kanina ni Yusek Pexon, it will just create more confusion than clarifying it kung dito natin sa definition na ito ilalagay yan.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair.
May I know who's speaking, please?
Echeverry.
Yes, Yusek Echeverry.
My question now is there a WTE model in any country that is not in need of incineration? Is it possible that we could implement WTEs without incineration?
Yes, there are technologies, Yusek, that do not involve incineration. Let's say, so madami po. Yung AD, anaerobic digestion. Tapos, madaming different kinds of technologies yung WTE. The only reason why now we're defining this specific kind of technology is so that it's clear that this kind of technology is allowed. But we want to make sure that although the technology is allowed, it's compliant with all our existing laws, rules, and regulations po. So, parang we're putting into law yung nakalagay na sa 9003 as clarified by the Supreme Court in MMDA versus HANCOM. Yun yung reason why we're defining incineration in a WTE facility. Sige, ganito na lang po. So that we can move forward, kasi malapit na pong para we can finish more provisions of the bill. This definition right now that we have, yung incineration in a WTE facility refers to a waste treatment and resource recovery technology that involves the controlled combustion of waste materials, converting them to ash, flue gas, and heat, and whose emissions and effluents are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other laws, rules, and regulations. For the purposes of this TWG, we will adopt this definition. But of course, we welcome further comments from the body, whether through a position paper, para lang po we can move forward. But we take note of everyone's comments, and please submit, if you have further comments on this definition, please submit this to us.
Just to answer si question ni Yusek Echeverry, may mga other technologies pa, no? Like for example, an anaerobic digester, yung methane recovery, pyrolysis, marami. Within the thermal category, ang daming different technologies. Within the AD technology, ang dami rin. And I noticed the development for WTE in all forms of technology is also moving quite fast. So if you look at through the bill, we're actually technology neutral here. What we want to promote is for the LGUs to choose whatever technology that is appropriate to them. This is what we want is only a governing framework so that whatever technology that they will choose, uh, the framework can be implemented and the proponents will for the proponents. So yun yung overarching direction nitong bill natin. Kaya wala tayong mention dito na whether it's thermal or anaerobic digester or methane recovery. The only reason why we mentioned incineration is because tama si Yusek Pekson because of its it's quite controversial. And also during the hearing, the comment of Attorney Dwight from Davao that we need to make this clear so that the proponents will have no doubts in their mind. And we're talking about 5 billion investment here, 5 billion peso investment here. So medyo malaki yung kanilang investment. So we don't want any room for doubt when they make those investments.
Okay, so ano po, for the purposes of this TWG, we're going to adopt this definition of incineration in a WTE facility. But please do kindly submit your further comments on this definition kapag mabigay na po namin yung clean version para mas maganda pong basahin na wala na po yung mga edits. Please give your comments. We welcome it po kasi we can further refine it po naman. Okay, now let's move on to the next definition.
Ma'am Attorney.
Yes, Sir Glenn.
Would just like to register a reservation. We are not adopting the, but we will submit our position.
Yeah, Glenn, I would like to, thank you for registering that. And definitely we will appreciate your position paper. Alam ko marami kang research on that. And this is just for purposes of moving forward. We will adopt this, but feel free to send us your position paper to improve, to delete, to further enhance. We welcome that.
Yes po. Thank you po.
Mr. Senator and Madam Chairperson, can I just make a last comment?
Yes,
to
you
the
said.
definition? If we can just scroll up a little bit to show the complete definition. Okay, so certainly this is one way of defining this. Oops, please stop. Sumobra na. The other way, having more or less the same words would be, if I may state this, incineration in a WTE facility involves the controlled combustion and so on for the purpose of recovering energy from the waste materials. So instead of refers to a waste heat, maybe put that at the end. Incineration in a waste to energy facility refers to the controlled combustion, blah, 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 for the purpose of recovering the energy from the waste materials. So I propose that as an alternative rewording of the definition.
Okay, thank you, Yusek. Yusek, ano na lang, we'll record it, we'll note it, but as we said, for the purposes of moving forward, we will adopt this, but I will read what you proposed para so that you know that we took note of it po. So incineration in a WTE facility refers refers to the controlled combustion of waste materials for the purposes of recovering energy from waste materials and whose emissions and effluents are compliant with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. Yun po yung proposal nyo. Tama po ba? Yusek? Baka tayo bang naglag? Yusek? Can you hear us? Okay. Yes po. Okay, so
last sentence, and
yes,
whose emissions and effluents must comply with the guidelines.
Okay. Must comply. So, once again, I will just read your proposal para it can be reflected in our records. So, incineration in a WTE facility refers to the controlled combustion of waste materials for the purposes of recovering energy from waste materials and whose emissions and effluents must comply with the guidelines pursuant to this act and other existing laws, rules, and regulations. We take note of that po, and then we'll also wait for the comments from Sir Glenn and his group and further comments from the body so that we can further improve this definition. But just for the purposes of the TWG, we'll use this definition po moving forward. Yes, Attorney Paul.
Question to USEC. Instead of whose emissions and effluents, whose level of emissions and effluents, would that be better? Because compliance, or does the compliance refer to the emissions and effluents themselves, not just two levels? We are asking that. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Paul. Yusek Pexon, if you can please kindly give us yung position paper mo about on the proposed definition, at saka if you can please kindly address yung query ni Attorney Paul if it should be level of emissions and effluents or kung pwede na yung emissions and effluents as it is.
Yes, we'll do that. But I think the answer is in the law itself. It defines what we have to comply with.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek. Okay, so moving on, let's once again, please kindly send us your comments. Now let's move on to letter O, the definition of local solid waste management plan. We just copy this from RA 9003. So it reads as, it refers to the 10-year solid waste management plan consistent with the National Solid Waste Management Framework prepared by the province, city, or municipality pursuant to Section 16 of RA 9003.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Yusek Echeverry,
So
tama?
that we could be consistent with our previous provisions, let's put it local government units instead.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Yusek. So for consistency, we prepared by the local government units pursuant to Section 16 of RA 9003. Thank you, Yusek. Other comments? Okay, no other comments. Now let's go to the definition of municipal waste. So the definition of municipal waste here is actually just lifted from the definition of municipal waste in RA 9003 and its IRR. So municipal waste refers to waste produced from activities within local government units, which include a combination of domestic, commercial, institutional, and industrial wastes and street litters.
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yes.
Why the term municipal? I mean, are we referring to municipal city, highly urbanized city, or it's just a terminology of municipal?
Yusek Echeverry, this is the term actually used in Public Act 9004. It's just a terminology. It's just a terminology po, municipal waste. Hindi naman siya dahil municipality yung nagpo-produce.
Okay.
Term lang po siya. Apo. Okay, any other comments? Any other comments on the definition of municipal waste, which we just adopted from RA 9003? Okay, now let's move on to the definition of NSWMC, National Solid Waste Commission. Refers to the commission created and primarily tasked with overseeing the implementation of solid waste management plans and prescribing policies to achieve the objectives of RA 9003. Sir Chris, okay po ba yung definition na to?
Yes, I think it, yeah. Yep. I think may kulang, pero I think that should be enough na eh. Pursuant naman tayo to 9003.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Chris.
Yeah. Kasi when you place there kasi that well, anyway, you mentioned primary task, but there are other tasks, so that's good already. I'm good with it.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Chris. Okay, now let's move on to the
Mr. Chair, sorry to interject again.
Yes, you said.
Can we say under municipal waste, under the last sentence, pursuant to, what's the legal basis for that definition? Pursuant to the law.
Yes,
What
okay.
law? So as not to confuse that we're creating a new definition.
Thank you, Yusek. So we'll be adding a colatilia to the definition. So pursuant to Republic Act 9003. Okay. Now let's move on to the definition of National Solid Waste Management Framework. So it refers to a document prepared by the National Solid Waste Management Commission based on the National Solid Waste Management Status Report pursuant to Section 15 of Republic Act number 9003. Okay, now let's move, no comments. Now let's move on to the next definition. National Solid Waste Management Status Report. It refers to a document prepared by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, which is used as a basis in formulating the National Solid Waste Management Framework pursuant to Section 14 of RA 9003. So, ano lang po, tama po ba na yung status report is prepared by DENR, tapos it's used as a basis by NSWMC to make the National Solid Waste Management Framework? Tama po, Sir Chris? Hello? Can you hear us?
Sorry, I found myself in mute pala. Yes, it's consistent naman with RA 9003.
Okay, thank you, Sir Chris. Now let's move on to the definition of pathological waste. The blue parts are the inclusion based on DOST comment in footnote 18. So pathological waste refers to all human tissue, whether infected or not, animal carcasses and tissue, together with all related swabs and dressings, blood, serum, and other microbiological waste. Do we have comments on this?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Dr. Molina.
Um, like the earlier comment now for the biomedical waste, I would like to suggest that we also get the definition from the Department of Health.
Thank you, Sir Vic.
Including,
DOH.
yeah, including the letter U, which is pharmaceutical waste.
Pharmaceutical, okay. Maybe we can hear feedback from DOH on the definition of pathological waste and pharmaceutical waste. DOH? Ma'am? Hello, ma'am. Can you hear us po, DOH? Okay, ganito na lang. This is what we'll do. So for the definition of biomedical waste, definition of pathological waste, and the definition for pharmaceutical waste, we'll be giving DOH an assignment to provide us a definition for these three kinds of waste. Okay, so ipapark na lang natin yung pathological and pharmaceutical. Yes, ma'am. Nandiyan na po ba? DOH? Okay, sige po. We'll move forward. So yung sa pathological and pharmaceutical, we'll ask DOH to provide us a comment for that. Now let's move on to the definition of poisonous and toxic fumes. Actually, wait lang. Okay. Yung poisonous and toxic fumes, yung nakalagay sa bill, actually, toxic and poisonous fumes. Siguro para we can discuss it, Jen, copy-paste ko muna yung definition ng toxic and poisonous fumes sa baba. Okay. So the definition in the bill is yung nasa W, toxic and poisonous fumes. So it refers to emissions and fumes which do not conform to internationally accepted standards, including WHO guideline values. But we included yung sa Philippine Clean Air Act because sinabi ng, I think there was a comment that it appears to be na WHO, internationally accepted standards lang yung kailangan sundin when there's the Clean Air Act. But if we look at the Clean Air Act, the terminology is actually poisonous and toxic fumes. And in letter V, ito yung definition ng nasa Clean Air Act. Poisonous and toxic fumes means any emissions and fumes which are beyond internationally accepted standards, including but not limited to the WHO guideline values. Now, will everybody be amenable that we just adopt the definition in the Clean Air Act, which is the letter V definition? DNR, NSWMC. Hello?
Yeah, we support a single definition, no? Kasi when you have two of that, medyo magulo. We propose that we adopt the Clean Air Act definition.
Okay, so will be yes, ma'am, DNR, ma'am Sonabel, tama ba? DOH, can we Okay, yes, okay. Thank you, Engineer Anarna. Thank you po. We saw what you said in the chat group that you will comply with the assignment. Thank you so much. So we will wait for the definition from DOH and we will discuss the proposed definition sa next natin na TWG. Okay? So let's move on po sa definition ng poisonous and toxic fumes. What we can do, based on what Sir Chris said then, so we'll delete this na, yung sa W. And what we will use is yung letter V instead, which is yung definition from the Clean Air Act. Okay na po? Okay, any other comments on the definition of poisonous and toxic fumes, which we just lifted from the Clean Air Act? Okay, no more comments. Now let's move on.
Can we include pursuant to the Clean Air Act instead? Or
Yes po. Let's add pursuant to RA 8794. Yeah.
8749.
Yes, 8749. Okay, so we'll add pursuant to Republic Act 8749. Okay, any other comments? Okay, no other comments. Now let's...
Chair?
Yes po.
Just a minor comment. Perhaps the phrase pursuant to RA 8749 is misplaced in the part, no? After WH, because these are international standards. No? So I suggest that we put it poisonous of toxic means any emissions and which are beyond the standard to RA and internationally accepted standards.
Sige, sir.
Ang ano ko lang, yung ano kasi yung RA international standard, the standard, and the toxic are including WHO and other guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Molina, I think the concern is kung yung pursuant to RA 8749, it's as if yung WHO guideline values refers to that. What we can do na lang siguro is yung pursuant to RA 8749, ilagay natin after ng emissions and fumes. Which are beyond, kasi kung ilalagay natin siya after ng emissions and fumes pursuant to RA 8749, which are beyond internationally accepted standards, including but not limited to WHO guideline values.
Attorney Kim, just a note. I think yung final definition po dito will depend where we land on the definition of incineration. Kasi nung nag-quick search ako, doon naman siya lumalabas yung phrase na to as qualifier to the allowed incineration. So, depends on how we will finally define incineration. Baka ma-cover na rin yung qualifications dito sa definition.
Sige, thank you, Attorney Mona. Ano, sige, subject to style na lang. So, ito yung decision na lang decision ng body is that we will adopt yung sa RA 8749. But Yusek Echeverry is requesting if we can qualify it that this actually refers to RA 8749. Subject to style, we'll just arrange it in a way na clear siya, but definitely we will make sure na reflected yung definition sa 8749 at reflected din na yung definition ay galing sa 8749. Subject to style, ayusin na lang namin, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now let's move on to the
Hello,
next.
ma'am.
Yes po.
Sonabel.
Hello.
Sonabel, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Sonabel. DOH po.
Okay. For the WHO lang, yung term, for the WHO air quality guidelines for particulate matter. That's the exact term they're using.
Air quality guidelines.
World Health Organization air quality guidelines for particulate matter.
Particulate. Ma'am, pero hindi naman particulate matter lahat.
Okay. Pwede na hanggang doon lang sa air quality guideline?
Air quality guideline.
Apo. Ma'am, pwedeng sumingit ako yung kanina na wala ako sa air.
Apo. Sige po, ma'am. Apo, go ahead, ma'am. If you want to give feedback po sa pathological waste and pharmaceutical waste.
Maiksi lang to, ma'am. Yung healthcare waste kasi broadly categorized and two lang siya. These are the hazardous and non-hazardous waste. Pag sinabing non-hazardous waste, ito yung tatlo, yung recyclable, residual, saka biodegradable. Ngayon, yung hazardous waste naman, nandun na yung mga pathological waste, pharmaceutical waste, sharp, infectious waste, pati na yung chemical waste. So, lahat ng sub-definition na yun na nagpo-falls under the infectious waste, yun ang bibigay naming definition of term.
Okay, ma'am, sige ma'am, we'll wait po for that submission. We take note. Yung sabi niyo po, sa healthcare waste, it's divided into two. Hazardous and non-hazardous. Yung sa hazardous, nandoon yung infectious, kasama na doon yung pathological, yung pharmaceutical, and yung chemical. Yes. Sa non-hazardous, kasama na doon yung recyclables, residual, and biodegradable.
Yeah, you get it right.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, siguro what we can do is if we can ask for yung definitions nito lahat, tapos we'll figure it out how to integrate it sa definitions natin right now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, sige po. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, ulitin lang natin, yung sa poisonous and toxic fumes, we're going to follow the definition in RA 8749. But DOH said that yung proper term ay WHO Air Quality Guidelines, hindi siya WHO guideline values. And then we'll also add na it's pursuant to 8749 but subject to style, we'll figure it out saan ipapasok para it's clear na we're copying from 8749. Okay po ba? Now let's move on po to the next definition, Provincial Solid Waste Management Board. Okay. We'll just finish po this page and then we'll resume next week. Provincial Solid Waste Management Board refers to the entity established by each province pursuant to Section 11 of RA 9003. Any comments po? Okay, no comments. And last, this is the last definition in this page, renewable energy resources. Ay, hindi pala to last definition in the page kasi nag-move na. Okay. I-qualify ko lang po. The reason why we're defining RE resources is because it was decided based taking into consideration everyone's comments from our 2 hearings and lahat na meetings um, in relation to WTE, that WTE should be classified as an RE resource para it's clear whether biomass siya, hindi siya biomass yung ganoon. So, para may clarity po, we're going to classify it as an RE resource. Yung comments po on whether it should be an RE resource, mamaya na pag dumating na tayo sa section 5. Ito, definition of terms pa lang po tayo. Okay? So, wag muna tayo dito mag-discuss na it should be, it shouldn't be. Definition lang po. Let's just make sure if yung definition okay ba, and then mamaya na natin pag-usapan kasi pwede namang i-delete lang if ever we decide otherwise. Okay, RE resources. So, this was actually lifted from RA 9003. Ay, ano ba yan? From RA 9513, yung RE Act. So it's exactly the same except na dinagdag natin yung waste to energy. So let me read. Renewable energy resources refers to energy sources that do not have an upper limit on the total quantity to be used. Such resources are renewable on a regular basis and whose renewal rate is relatively rapid to consider availability over an indefinite period of time. These include, among others, biomass, solar, wind, geothermal, ocean energy, waste to energy, and hydropower conforming with internationally accepted norms and standards on dams and other emerging renewable energy technologies. So lifted to from RA 9513, yung dinagdag lang natin ay yung inclusion ng waste to energy. And please let me read yung sinabi ng DOE on this. MSW is generated as a result of human consumption and use of mass-produced and manufactured consumer goods. Clearly, MSW is therefore intertwined with the existence of modern human society, and for as long as people continue to live and enjoy goods and amenities that a modern civilization provides, MSW, both organic and inorganic, will be produced. In fact, their quantity will only increase as the human population also grows. In short, it is an energy resource that is practically inexhaustible, sustainable, and available over an indefinite period of time. DOE confirms that MSW is classified as an RE resource under RA 9513 and its IRR, as referring to energy resources that do not have an upper limit on the total quantity to be used and are renewable on a regular basis and whose renewal rate is relatively rapid to consider availability over an indefinite period of time. Ano din po, we requested DOE to submit a preliminary study on which jurisdictions consider WTE as an RE resource, and yung sinamit ng DOE sa amin, it shows that in the US, in China, in Korea, in South Korea, and in Taiwan, they actually consider WTE as an RE po. So, mamaya na natin next week na natin pag-usapan whether it should be or it shouldn't be, but ngayon po, insofar as the definition is concerned, do we have comments on the definition?
Hello. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Sinong gusto? DOF, Sir Glenn?
Glenn po.
Sir Glenn, opo.
Oo. Maganda kasing tignan yung definition ng renewable energy based doon sa composition or elements composing the such energy, because we will consider waste as a renewable energy source, like for instance plastic. We know that it is fuel based, no? I mean, plastic were produced out of oil, which is fossil. Then that is not renewable energy. So along with other materials like the metals or the papers, no, which are actually from extractive elements, no, or elements extracted from the natural resource, which are finite, because that is also crucial in determining whether a particular material is renewable or not, if it is finite or not finite. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Glenn. I think
Can
Sir,
I say something also?
yes po. May we know who's speaking? Yes, Ma'am Annalisa.
Annalisa from UP Environmental Engineering. Kasi dun sa internationally accepted na type ng waste na pwedeng i-consider sa renewable energy systems, alam ko lang yung biomass. Kasi they come from the process which is ano nga yun, renewable yung ano niya, yung process niya. Pero yung ibang types ng waste, wala pa siya dun sa internationally accepted na type ng waste na pwede. Kasi nga, some of the waste that we produce comes from ano fossil materials kung pinuproduce sila. And another thing is that baka nagko-contradict kung pati yun isasama natin, nagka-contradict siya sa principle ng source reduction. Baka hindi lahat ng klaseng waste pwedeng renewable energy source.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, yung classification sa RE resource, just to address yung sa source reduction, we were clear naman po na definitely the purpose, parang we're encouraging yung reduction ng waste in the first place. Kasi, di ba, Solid Waste Management Act talaga yung una nating gustong ipapatupad, tapos ito nasa tail end to ng 5 hours. Yung difficulty lang po talaga is if we qualify na, kasi ito ata yung issue na bring up during the hearings na currently yung kino-consider ng DOE as renewable energy, yung waste to energy, if at least 50% ng feedstock ay biodegradable. Oo. But since yung technologies, I think ang hirap kasing i-qualify na, let's say, example lang sir, sa residual waste natin, it's a mix of a lot of things. It can be yung paper that's no longer recyclable, it can be, some of it can be plastic. Paano po, if ganun po yung ano natin, is paano, let's say kung may WTE facility ka, tapos yung kanyang feedstock ito yung kanyang feedstock. So, magiging per technology, per facility yung qualification whether i-consider siya as RE?
Can I also say something about that? Yeah, Annalisa Rolion pa rin. I think siguro per type of waste na pinifeed natin sa waste to energy facility, kung yung waste na yon is considered as renewable energy, which usually nga yung mga biomass kind of waste. Pero ano ba yung purpose na gusto nating i-classify yung waste to energy system as renewable energy resource? Kasi if it's about providing the incentives na meron sa RE, baka pwede rin naman tayong maglagay ng incentives na for the waste to energy facility itself, not classifying it. And we don't have to classify everything as renewable energy. So baka case-to-case basis, kung qualified lang siya na renewable energy, not specific waste to energy, can be promoted as that. So I think parang ano lang tayo, maging kapareho lang tayo dun sa internationally accepted definition ng renewable energy resource.
Yeah. Ma'am, yung, yes, one part of it is the, what do you call this? One part of it would be the incentives. But of course, pwede namang ilagay lang yung incentives dito. I think another issue kasi is, di ba, if we're going to make, let's say, a power generating facility, a power plant using WTE, one requirement kasi is an RESE, a service contract. And the service contract na nire-require ng DOE, it will actually, parang that's the guarantee for DOE to give, parang you're telling DOE that you have a source of the feedstock. That's why they will allow you to build. If it's, yung classification niya kasi ma'am, parang if, because of since crucial na we know that may continuous na feedstock itong WTE facility, that's why they will be allowed to build. And that's why they will be allowed to enter into a competitive selection with a distribution utility na bibili sa kanila. It's really that, ma'am, from a security perspective, it's important na it's important naman ganoong guarantee. But maybe we can hear muna from DOE since yung basis nito is DOE's comment naman po. Director Miley.
Yes, yeah, good afternoon. Actually, based on the research that we have conducted, consistent naman po yung definition ng waste to energy as a renewable energy. Uh, in determining yung capability of a particular proposed project, meron tayong tinatawag na yung characterization or yung WACS wherein ina-identify kung ano yung mga feedstock. So, under the waste to energy, yun talaga lang mako-convert into useful energy yung pwedeng consider natin as under the biomass or the renewable energy. Kasi ang waste to energy has been classified as a biomass, part of the biomass project, no, which is deemed renewable energy. So, ganun po yung position. And this was the result of the study we had in other jurisdictions. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Attorney Mona here po.
Yes,
Dagdagan ko lang po yung sinabi ni Director Mike. Kasi tama po yung to the extent that it's using renewable raw materials, so to speak. Parang yung feedstock niya considered as biomass. It can be, yun yung sa renewable, yun yung sa RE aspect niya. Pero tama din po kasi si Miss Annalisa, and this is what we put in our position paper as well. Maybe the balancing is really on the objectives of 9003 and 9513 for RE Act. Kasi po, may source reduction mandate. So how do we now reconcile the source reduction mandate with the renewable nature of it? In reassessing how important is it to qualify it as an RE project and still meet or present those objectives in this unique opportunity we have in crafting a subset of projects for WTE.
Mona, anong opinion mo as in Red and Reb based on your research, based on your knowledge? Can we outright qualify WTE? Kasi if you notice, we didn't qualify it based on what type of feedstock, no?
Yes,
What
sir.
we said is basta WTE, whether it's kung biodegradable siya or residual siya, it will be considered as renewable. What's your opinion on that?
Sir, ako I share maybe 2 points. I share with Director Mylene's point on the driver for the classification is really the type of resource that's being used. So if it's utilizing agricultural waste, for example, para lang madali, then it can be classified as an RE project. But I think the second point which I want to make is we're focusing on this and we're spending, I think the bill correctly focuses a lot of attention on the power generation component of the project because it sees it as the revenue stream, the significant revenue stream coming from the power generation. But maybe that objective of creating that revenue stream can also be subject to review because I heard Attorney Kim also mentioned earlier so that it can qualify competitive selection and all that. I think that's going to be very challenging for a WTE project to compete with other power generators in CSP and least cost in particular to meet the least cost requirement of ERC. So maybe it needs to be reassessed in that light. We're qualifying it as an RE because we want it to compete also in that market, but maybe it will not be able to compete solely on the basis of power generation. So yun po yung actually that's in the position paper we submitted. That's what we wanted to be considered. The focus on the project as a power generation for that power generation to be the main revenue stream of the project. Baka po yun yung challenge talaga din even for the proponents that we have right now.
I think the main advantage of qualifying it as as RE is to take advantage of the RE incentives
Incentives,
and
yes.
RE other than the fiscal incentives, but the other benefits under the RE.
Correct.
It
Opo.
gives it a lot of boost. No?
Mhm.
Example,
Mhm.
mga priority dispatch, yung mga other things. But
But
uh,
maybe the
but there is really some debate whether it's logical to qualify it as RE, no? Especially when you take in residual waste as feedstock.
correct. Opo.
No, pag yung biomass, I think there's no debate. No, pag ilalagay natin doon, let's say yung biodegradable, there's no debate.
Mhm.
But we
Mhm.
all know that is low, yung biodegradable, low calorific value yan eh. And it might not be feasible for the plant to have that nga.
Mhm.
So, having said that, is it still logical to qualify it as RE? Yun ang aking tanong.
Opo. So maybe yun po, we can submit a position paper on that also, Mr. Senator, but also an invitation to take a step back on why we want to classify it as RE. As you mentioned, it's the driver there is really so that it can qualify for the incentives. But maybe the bill can also be a good platform to provide those incentives so that it doesn't really matter now if it's classified as RE or non-RE because it has its own source of incentives in this bill or act.
Mona, we need your guidance, no? Because you guys are the organization that overlooks RE. We need your guidance. Admittedly, this is although the technology is old, but the concept is highly debatable. So we need your
Mhm.
guidance and we need your independent review whether to qualify it as RE or not. And I told the same to DOE. Eventually, when we file this as it is right now, we have to make sure that our recommendation is sound and recommendation is accepted internationally.
Mhm.
We don't want a scenario where in the Philippines the only one qualifying WTE as RE. No, so we want to make sure that our recommendation is sound. Kay Ma'am Annalisa, I know you've done a lot of research on environmental engineering. In your research ba ho, sa ibang bansa, meron bang ganitong qualifier? They qualify WTE as RE?
Yung naka-qualify lang na WTE as RE, yung biomass fed. Kumbaga yung waste comes from biomass. Pero not all types of waste. Pero may mga papers na nagsasabing MSW as an RE but they're dealing more on the biomass fraction of the
Hindi ho,
waste.
residual. Kasi if you notice in our
Yung
bill,
residual, karamihan doon kung plastics lang kasi yung plastics is not a renewable energy resource kasi galing siya sa fossil materials when they are produced.
so philosophically and technically, it cannot be qualified.
Sa ngayon, internationally classification, hindi ko pa nakikitang ganon.
Ma'am, pahingi rin ng position paper on that. On that lang po.
Okay. Okay.
But I do acknowledge your comment, Ma'am Annalisa, na if it's purposes of incentives and making it competitive, of course we can tweak
Yeah.
it. No? But as a, I think as a overarching and kumbaga mas accepted na, no? The incentives kasi for RE is already accepted. The whole purpose of qualifying it as RE is to get the acceptance faster, no? Because of the incentives. But obviously, if that cannot happen, then we have to tweak it a bit. But pahingi ho ma'am ng position paper, and this is a very important aspect of the bill. So I'll ask Attorney Mona and si Ma'am Annalisa for a position paper on this topic.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, will do.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Comment po.
Sir Glenn, opo.
Oo. Baka reminder po sa body, kasi parang paulit-ulit. The way the body is defining terms, it's not actually defining them. No, it's sort of rationalizing the terms and the definitions merely to accommodate things that we shouldn't. Like, for instance, we know for a fact that plastic is not renewable in nature, resource. And we are trying to define ways to be renewable, just to include, because why we know that plastic has high calorific value. And also, we are attempting to define WT as renewable energy resource just to be entitled of the feed-in tariff. Ito yung kanyang sinasabi. Which actually denotes that WT is indeed expensive. Contrary dun sa claims ng mga proponents na napaka-viable, napaka-feasible. Because if not, why asking for it? So, baka yun ang magandang guidance sa atin that we really determine the right and accurate, correct, scientific, internationally accepted. Because at the end of the day, if we will come up with this kind of definition, then we might be the laughing stock of the international community. The UP says, no, it's very clear. It is not scientifically correct to say that waste such as plastic can be considered as renewable energy. Ganon din kanina sa incineration, when we are trying to have a consensus on the definition of incineration. So, yun lang po.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Glenn. I think ganito. Kanina 'di ba yung sinabi na yung I think the contention right now is what is the feedstock of WTE so that it can be considered an RE resource. Yun yung source of contention right now na sabi nga ni Sir Glenn, okay sa kanila na yung WTRE kung biomass yung feedstock. Pero kapag hindi, it shouldn't be. And that same sentiment is shared by UPEEP. But ganito na lang po, just to move forward para we can just finish this page, we would like to request so dalawa na yung contentious natin. Yung kanina yung incineration of a WTE facility na definition. Tas ito, yung renewable energy resource na definition. If we can please get your comments on these two definitions. But for the purposes of this TWG, we're not saying it's final. We're just saying so that we can move forward lang po. We're going to adopt this definition just for the purposes of this TWG today. Pero we would appreciate your comments and suggestions on this specific definition, the same way sa definition ng incineration in a WTE facility. Okay po. So, ano po, we'll wait for your comments specifically on this definition at saka yung request ni Sen from NREB and UPEEP and of course all our other stakeholders. Parang please do kindly submit your comment on this definition po. Okay, now let's move on sa next.
Attorney team.
Yes po.
Sorry, Charmaine Odicta from the Department of Finance.
Yes.
I just want to say our opinion regarding the definition of renewable energy resource. I think for the DOF, we recognize the objective of the RE law. So we adhere to the principle of the RE law. But if you want just to refine the definition and consider, I think we should consider what is internationally accepted than just my picking the RE definition just for the incentives. I think you have to be clear on the classification. I think for the DOF, because there is a tax implication at the end of the day. So to assure that there will be no problem at the end in the implementation, we set the standard and the proper classification of what if WTE is indeed as a whole, all classification of WTE can be considered as a renewable energy source. So that's for the DOF.
Just to put it on record, we didn't invent this philosophy. This didn't come out of our wild imagination. It was a recommendation and an analysis based on the position paper of DOE, no, and research also, no, and we engaged DOE to conduct research, to conduct consultations, and this came from DOE's research and analysis. So DOE being our supervisor for all energy issues and energy related topics, we took the position of DOE. But nevertheless nga, I want to review further, ask for the opinion of other experts, so that will be guided accordingly. So itong philosophy has basis, no? It wasn't really
Yeah.
invented.
Yes, Your
Yeah.
Honor. We agree with that, and we submit to the wisdom of and the expertise of DO and the other expert. What we really want to say is that we should put, I think, a clear classification or definition, because based on the discussion earlier, there were some disagreements on the inclusion of the WTE as a whole as part of the renewable energy source. So
Mr. Chair. Yeah,
we have
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Ma'am Eileen.
Yeah. Just to make a point that under Section 30 of Republic Act 9513, which is the RE law, energy has mandated to introduce or adopt waste to energy. And it defined here what are those waste to energy, no? So hindi lang siya masyadong defined, but Section 30 of the RE Act explicitly mandated Department of Energy to adopt waste to energy. So it is deemed that waste to energy what is considered renewable energy. Now it depends on the characterization, as I earlier mentioned, on what should be construed as feedstock that is renewable, no, in terms of, because the plastic, as mentioned, are being also used as feedstock. Ito po yung ginagawang mga pellet or pellets that are powering some of our industrial customers. Thank you.
Comment po.
Yes, Sir Glenn.
Opo. Tama po si director, no, from the UST na nabanggit doon sa RHILO na accepted yung WTE. Pero hindi po sinasabi doon na incineration type of WTE. Maliwanag po doon yung provisions, no, at hindi naman sinasabi doon na plastic is accepted as feedstock or is a type of renewable energy. Magkaibang bagay po yata yun.
Sige, okay. Ganito na lang po so that we can move forward. So, just like in our definition for incineration in a WTE facility, please do kindly send your comments and proposed definition for RE resource if you want to qualify yung WTE, ano yung research nyo on this, specifically kung how WTE is treated in other jurisdictions as well, or pwedeng legally in other jurisdictions, pwedeng in terms of technical definitions, yung ganun po. So we would appreciate your feedback. But we'll just for the purposes of the TWG po, we'll leave this as it is, but subject to everyone's comments. Now, let's move on po sa next natin na definition, sa resource recovery. Okay. Resource recovery refers to the collection, extraction, or recovery of recyclable materials from the waste stream for the purpose of recycling, generating energy, or producing a product suitable for beneficial use. There's a comment here from DENR that we should adopt the definition from RA 9003. Sa RA 9003 po kasi, merong proviso itong resource recovery, provided that such resource recovery facilities exclude incineration. But we deleted that proviso kasi nga po, in Section 5, we're going to say that incineration in a WTE facility is allowed, provided that, of course, it complies with all guidelines and with all existing laws. Yung discussion po on incineration, pag pumunta tayo sa Section 5 na lang po. Pero can we get comments on this? Let's focus lang po on the definition of resource recovery. Yung issue ng incineration para na po next week. Do we have comments on this definition? Okay, no comments. And last, for the purposes of today's TWG, definition ng sanitary landfill refers to a waste disposal site designed, constructed, operated, and maintained in a manner that exerts engineering control over significant potential environmental impacts arising from the development and operation of the facility. So this is the same definition in SBN 401. And I think this is also the same definition in Section FF of RA 9003.
Can you
Do we
please, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, can you also include that pursuant to such?
Okay, sige. Sige po. Thank you, Yusek. We'll add pursuant to RA 9003. Okay, so that concludes our TWG for today. We will resume po next week, Tuesday, 9 a.m. uli. Hopefully, next week, matapos po natin. But I will just go through the things that we discussed. First, DOH will provide yung definition ng biomedical waste, pathological waste, and pharmaceutical waste, as well as lahat na healthcare waste that minention kanina ng DOH. Tapos number 2, we would like to solicit feedback from all the stakeholders on 2 definitions. First is the definition of incineration of a waste to incineration in a waste to energy facility. So hindi lang po yung incineration, but incineration in a waste to energy facility. And yung second ay yung definition ng renewable energy resources. So if you can please submit to us by Friday para we have time to go through it po. Anyway, dalawa lang naman po yun. Please submit it to us by Friday para we can prepare it po and in time for our TWG on Tuesday. So yun lang po, yung sa DOH tapos yung sa definition ng incineration in a WTE facility and renewable energy resource. Please submit your comments on these things by Friday, and that's June 12, Independence Day po. Apo. And we will resume our through email lang po, kahit through email lang po yung definition, and we will resume our TWG next week, Tuesday, that's June 16. Okay, so that concludes our TWG today. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will wait for your submissions on June 12. And we will see you again on June 16, 9 a.m. For our second TWG. Thank you. Thank you so much.